We are live. Finally, man. Apologies, mother lovers, for the late intro. You know what I mean? We had some technical hitches, but we sorted ourselves out now. We are here. We are live. You are locked into some shit you might not never know nothing about with myself, MysDiggi, alongside my co-host, Dan DNA. He's in there. He's hanging in there. Hang DNA. Today we'll call you Hang DNA. Hanging in there. He's a soldier right now, man.
I've got some shit you might not never want to know.
Well, boy, some shit you definitely might not want to never know nothing about, boy. But we're here, man. You know what I mean? We had a few technical hitches, you know, like we were going to sort out me going dolo, like riding the ship solo with the common senses. But he's hanging in there and he's helping me out, making sure we get an intro in there and all the cuts that we need to. So, of course, we want to thank everybody that locks in to the podcast because, you know, we do this for the community, man. You know what I mean? We try our best to look out for the community out there. People might miss it, you know what I mean? Shout out to Don Smithard. Hey, bruv, you sorted me out, man. I had a good weekend, and it was because of you, bruv. I'm telling you. The flavors just kept me going, boy. Hey, it was fun, man. It was fun. But yeah, man, you know, we've always got to come back here and chat to you guys, especially when we want to get certain people in as well to share some knowledge. Basically, some stuff you might not never know nothing about. You know, in case the kids are listening, it's something you might not never know nothing about. Or some stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
You have to bleep me out at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little
I forgot
bit.
the first hour was the family-friendly.
That's how it
Isn't
should
it?
be,
You
innit?
sort of bring people in with the first hour,
Yeah.
kids and all that. And then you say, come on, kids, time to go.
Yeah.
This is
And then
the
bam,
parents'
that's
bit, and
it,
it gets
yeah.
blue. Yeah.
What they call it? What's it called again?
Watershed.
Yeah, watershed. Why is it called watershed?
Don't know.
Watershed.
shed full
The
of
shed
water.
full of water. Oh, go and get some water from the shed. Maybe it's that time, innit? And then bam, you and wifey could get it on, boy. Start opening like,
After the watershed, yeah.
go and get some, yeah, it must be, innit?
The water's been shed after some kind of water was shed from...
Watershed. Anyone got an idea why they call it watershed? That's kind of, it is kind of odd.
Yeah, send us
You know what
send us a stamped addressed envelope. Any ideas?
Yeah, man. Shout out to your more. What's going on, sis? Up in the building. Yes. We got your question in as well. Ladies and gents, tonight we're going to be getting into that CBD world. You know what I mean? Learning a bit more about this plant that we love so much. Many of us don't even know why we love it. You know what I mean? We just do. But I'm saying it's good to learn a bit more about these things. And especially like, you know, some people have asked me as well, like, how does it help you? Like, in what way does CBD help you regardless? And it's like, when you explain, yeah, it feels like they don't really understand. They don't get it as such. And so I'm like, look, try it and then you'll see what I mean. But I also think that, you know, you can't do it and then just be battering loads of shit food and, do you know what I mean? Not really looking after yourself as well. Like, this thing, you know, when they call it holistic, that's the whole. You know, the whole body. So you can't, and even the mind, you know, like all of these things are linked together. And if you think it's just about like, yeah, I'm just going to train. I'm going to eat McDonald's, eat KFC, you know what I mean? Just batter like, or even if you don't do that, but you're still not eating right and all it is fizzy drinks and this, that, and the third, sugar here, carbs, which turn into sugar, you know what I mean? Just sugar. Listen, man, you're going to have to do more than just train to work that shit off, because the thing you're using, like, it's the same thing as using bad fuel for a car. Do you know what I mean? You put in your car some shitty fuel, it's not going to run right. After a while, you know what I mean? All these things you're putting in your body are going to plant it's going to plant itself somewhere because your body doesn't know what to do with it. And that's going to end up being some lump somewhere. And then you're going to be running to, you know? So you have to clean out the whole system, first of all, like reset, then bam. From there, if you feel like you want to have a little whatever, you can have it now and again, but just don't have it like you did before, where it's causing all these ailments that you didn't even realize were there, man. You know, but so I think in terms of like with CBD, there's a thing of you know, there are some, obviously people with pain and whatnot, you know, or if you're some form of like hyperactivity, you know, maybe you're going through the day a bit stressy, it can help you in that. Like, but there's a bunch of other things as well. I feel like it's some form of adaptogen that does just more than one thing. And, you know, so I think it's ideal for people to get what, you know, how it can help you. And so, you know, so today we got Sam Gibbons, our brother, do you know what I mean? Cannasseursuk UK. Oh, in the building to chat a bit more. We gave us a little history before, but I felt like we didn't delve deep enough into it. It was very interesting, especially the stuff about we actually used to grow it in our backyard and all that. But yo, welcome to the show.
Cheers,
Sam,
mate.
Iga. Is it Iga or Ega? It's
Iga.
Iga. There you go.
Yeah.
Cannasseursuk UK in the building. Oh yeah, check that. The banner there.
How you guys? Are you good?
Yeah, man. How are you, bruv?
Yeah, good. Good, man. Busy.
We had yeah, man. Of course, I'm not surprised, bruv. You got the product right there.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've got a lot going on as well at the moment, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, like we're waiting on. It's been a long process. I probably spoke about it before, but where the Food Standards Agency in the UK decided that they wanted to change the classification of CBD products, and decided that it needed to become a novel food and go through a whole heap of regulation and licensing, all for everybody's safety, apparently, which was slightly dubious in the fact that the authorities claiming safety were some of the products that you've already seen on the market in the last couple of years that are obviously not that safe, that are coming out, and they're pushing on people, and yet CBD never had a hospitalisation, never had any issue with dangers of it. The World Health Organization have said it's completely safe, can't overdose on it. And yet the UK Food Standards Agency decide for our own good that they need to reclassify it.
Say that again. So the World Health Organizations already said that you can't overdose on CBD.
It's completely safe. Yeah, non-toxic. There's never been hospitalization. There's never been any health concerns with it. Obviously, like in the UK, you know, it's nearly 10 years now there's been an active CBD market in this country. A lot of people taking it. They say, like, last estimate was about 2 million people in the UK now take it, which I think that's blatantly much more than that now. And we'd never have had any issues, you know, and no companies in the industry had ever had any reports of people being unwell or there being an issue with that yet. Like I say, the Food Standards Agency have decided to take you know, the most sort of super nutritional food that we actually have, and that is, it was just a food supplement, food extract, and decided to change it. So it's now got to go through a load of licensing.
Serious?
Yeah, they had in the first, we had until I think it was the 31st of March 21 to put in the application, and up until about 6 months ago, there'd only been about, I think, 4 applications approved, and they were all for really large companies that were producing synthetic CBD, so not even real CBD products, and yet they got approved. So in a short story, we have been waiting for ages, and we've all been in limbo. You know, a lot of people, even like suppliers, wholesalers, first thing they ask these days are, you know, you novel food approved? And, you know, we're like, no, we're waiting. But we've just had, we weren't on the initial list, which was put out about a month ago, which was like pretty gutting, because, you know, that could really be the defining moment for companies. If you make it onto this list, then you sort of got a free run for the next few years with like an approved product, as it were.
Would this be the first list that's come out?
Pretty much, yeah. There's been about 1,000 companies that have been put on this list, and we, like I say, we weren't on there, which was slightly concerning. But I've just been dealing with our sort of our suppliers and with the novel food department as to what the issue was, and it was just to do with the way that we'd like put our codes down for the batch codes and stuff, and they're saying we need this amended, so we've amended it and sent it back to them now. So, like, fingers crossed, we are just sitting and waiting. If we get approved and we get put on that list, then basically we've got, you know, green light for the next however many years to just like really crack on with what we are so passionate about, which is whole plant extract. You know, there's got all sorts of cannabinoids. It's not just CBD isolate and, you know, any of that. It's CBD that is actually effective. It's got very small amounts of THC, in which we were very concerned that the government were going to have like a zero tolerance policy towards it. But it seems that some of these products are going through. So, yeah, if we don't get it, then it's literally pretty much the end for us. So it is that much
serious
of the hanging in the balance, really. So it's like, you know.
All right, and have you looked at the list that they've put out so far?
I've had a brief look at it, yeah.
And you know, how the companies, did they look like they could be involved with you know, like quite a large
Big cannabis.
Yeah, basically.
What's that?
A large farm. I was gonna say a large farm.
Well,
Do
no,
they look like they could be quite involved with, you know, like multi-million, possibly billion-dollar companies and entities?
Yeah, so the problem we got is that hemp farmers can't extract the flower. So no companies in the UK can legally get CBD grown and extracted in the UK. So this all comes in from Europe or further afield anyway. That's another bullshit. You know, so you want to cut out the language early on, but that's the other ridiculous sort of law in this country to do around the hemp farming and the production that stops them from actually utilizing the flower and the bud of the hemp plant. So you can't actually make any CBD products in this country.
That's nuts.
That's another, you know, crazy thing about it. So it's just it's a mad one. So there is a hemp farmer that I'm sort of good friends with up in Warwickshire, and they're looking at the sort of loophole around CBD production, and they're looking at whether they might be able to like cold press the whole plant, and they reckon that might be a possibility. But yeah, so the list of CBD companies, and nothing really to do with any hemp farms, because hemp farms have to stay away completely from CBD because the authorities will shut them down immediately if they feel that they're like getting involved in cannabis extracts rather than just growing hemp and then, you know, making fiber or rope or textiles or oil or whatever it is out of it. You know, you can't actually use the flower in this country. So that's the other crazy part about it.
That's just nuts. When you think about it like that, it's kind of weird. I guess what are they? So the idea is that they're they're stopping people from making any form of THC level flower. So it can come in as oil. If you could grow it as oil, you know, I'm just saying for the sake of it, but if you could grow it and it was an oil straight away, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Like,
so you can import CBD, you know, but as it is in flower form, there's really strict laws. It's still a controlled substance. You know, obviously you have a hemp license, but that only gives you a license to grow hemp. It doesn't give you a license to extract anything from the hemp. You can only use the stalk and the seed as a hemp farmer for whatever you want to do, which obviously you can't get CBD oil out of stalk and seed. That ain't going to really produce anything. So, yeah, so it all comes in from like Eastern Europe or Spain, France. All of these countries have got pretty common sense laws around hemp farming and then the production of it and utilizing all of the plant, including the flower, to make CBD medicine. This country's got a bizarre industry where we allow CBD to be legal, yet we don't allow the hemp farmers to actually grow the hemp plants or they do allow them to grow, but they don't allow them to extract the flower from the plant. So then all the British CBD companies have to go into other countries to buy in CBD when we could just get it from our own hemp farmers, but the British government like to just put in stupid laws and red tape. And, you know, like if there's ever I always say this, if there's ever like a conspiracy, as it were, that's provable in the flesh, like it's not just bullshit and someone just shouting some online shit or some internet nonsense. It's provable. You spend a few months in this industry and you look at the way that the industries have tried to make there's such grey areas and so much regulation and nonsense and red tape and hoops you have to jump through and hoops that none of this stuff even makes any common, there's no sense to any of it. So it's just a load of nonsense. But you know, I still hold a little bit of hope that coming is going to be some sort of common sense policy and laws around CBD companies and hemp farmers, because it needs it. It's just
nuts. It's nuts. If they're willing to, you know, allow some form of commerce with the end product, then you might as well allow people to, like, you know, cultivate it here on the land.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Stopping hemp farmers from? But this makes me wonder whether there's a bigger agenda at play, where, like what you said about big farms, like, you know, now what's coming with this new regulation, you might well see like it may not just be directly government involved. It will be the usual private company with government MPs or ministers, shareholders that are they're going to be like the main growers of hemp, and pretty much all the companies are then going to have to go to this one particular farm that may have a special license that allows them to do it, and it'll stop all the hemp farmers around the country, which are really, most people are just like down to earth, quite small farms, but farms that are like really innovative and like really trying to do things differently. That's why they've gone into the world of hemp. And yet they're the ones, I don't see the authorities allowing them to flourish and allowing them to really profit properly out of this industry, which they should do.
Nuts, man. It just doesn't even make any sense. But one thing I was thinking when you're talking about that is, wasn't it Theresa May's husband?
Yeah.
Or whatever, that's already...
Philip May.
Philip May. And wasn't it like on this land though? Like they're cultivating it like in...
I know he's got 20%
UK,
shares at least, I think, in like GW Pharma, which is like the largest cannabis company in the world. Although I think they have actually just sold for billions quite like a few months back. So I don't know how that'll work, whether obviously he's been paid out loads of money for his 20% shares in that. He's probably ended up getting like something stupid, maybe like £1 billion out of it. So him and Theresa May are probably doing all right.
I feel like it was said that... UK is the biggest export of...
That's right. They are. We are. Yeah. So private companies which get given licenses, you can apply to the government for a license to grow not just hemp. You can grow. Well, the weird thing is you can grow THC. It costs about £5,000. The hemp license is about £500, and to apply for a THC license to cultivate controlled THC plants is about £5,000. But they're very selective, obviously, in who they give those. Who passes those applications. Yeah,
you have to do it in the private from the sounds of it. Like you can't do it as a public entity.
You can. There's a company called British Sugar, and what they did was British Sugar. Yeah, British Sugar, and what it is the side sort of effect of them having a sugar factory is it produces loads of CO2. So what they then did is they built a cannabis growing facility like right next door. So all the excess CO2 went straight into the cannabis factory, and they've got a license to grow full THC, skunk cannabis, whatever proper bud as you want to call it. The reason why I say skunk things a load of nonsense, but they use this term to try and say like high THC cannabis is this skunk and it's really bad for you, and then on the other hand we've got this medicinal cannabis and this is good for you. Well, actually what they're finding is the high THC strains, not always in the case, because CBD has its uses, but the exportation of this high THC cannabis is going to all sorts of countries around the world that are utilizing it for medicinal purposes. And that is, like I say, that's not just hemp and CBD bud. That's full THC flower, and there's 90 tons of that gets exported on average out of the UK. And all while that's being done, hemp farmers can't grow and do anything with their hemp plants. Do you see what I mean? Like, if there's ever a proof that there's something fishy going on here, and the authorities are either like, it doesn't make sense. They're not stupid,
No, and also like the hemp stuff for like making building blocks and all that is like much more carbon neutral than cement, mate, and digging clay out and putting it in a kiln and all that stuff. So they hempcrete
is amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
It's fireproof. It's got like high thermal values. It's amazing stuff.
Cannabis hemp itself, before like it was made illegal, which there's a good few theories about that, why it was prohibited in the first place. From like the timber industry wanted it banned, and there's loads of industries that were really threatened by hemp. But at the time, hemp was like the largest. That was the biggest agricultural crop grown across the whole world. This is the thing about it. When you were talking, Mice, at the beginning, to say to people about, why is it that this thing does so much, this plant? It literally is, at some point through history, it's been consumed so much by not just human beings, but animals all across the world. It's a staple diet for farm animals for like hundreds of years. Wow. That we have an endocannabinoid system. We produce internal cannabinoids. They're literally on a molecular structure identical to the cannabinoids you'll find in the cannabis plant. So we actually have a system within our body that naturally produces cannabinoids. They're just called endocannabinoids, which means internal cannabinoids. And then the phytocannabinoids, which are from growing and externally in the sun, which come from the plant. It just makes pure sense. It basically your own endocannabinoid system. In a lot of people, if you're not consuming hemp, well, we haven't been for so long now, it's almost got to the point where if they're not working and they're faltering the endocannabinoid system, some people, they're not even working at all. And when you look at how important the endocannabinoid system is, like the main cannabinoid receptors, CB1, CB2, main responsibility and function is like the nervous system and the immune system. So, these play such an important role. It's like feeding your nervous system and feeding your immune system with the tools, aka the cannabinoids, that go into different areas and have different effects throughout the body. And if you're starving yourself and you're not using cannabis as a food, which none of us are to the extent that we should be. I take it every day, and still, in terms of how it was used, maybe a few hundred years ago, going back thousands of years ago, this stuff was like, we're microdosing it now. We need to be consuming it as an actual food. It's great that we extract it and we purify it, so we can take small amounts and get more of a punch than just eating loads of the plant to sort of try and get that. But still, cannabis itself is a food. First and foremost, above anything. It's not medicine, it's not a pharmaceutical, it's a food, it's a superfood. It's one of the most nutritional herbs on the planet. We have a whole system in our body designed to receive the properties and the components of that plant. It is a madness. Like I go on about it all the time, but like it doesn't matter whether you're, if you're ill, don't get me wrong, then, people that are in situations where their immune system needs a real quick boost.
Reset.
Yeah. And it's like what is known as like homeostasis, where cannabis provides the optimal balance across all your systems, across your bodies, to get it working in perfect harmony, as it were. But in terms of you're just taking it as a supplement, say you're healthy, as it were, you might go to the gym, you're trying to eat well, trying to do what you're doing, you're just taking it as a supplement. It's not really about what it does for you in terms of what you feel it does for you. It's just in terms of giving your immune system, your nervous system, the tools it needs to stay and remain healthy. That's really all it's about. And every human being should be consuming hemp/cannabis in some form. It's as simple as that. If you're not, THC is one part of it, which gets people high. And the other, they reckon that there's conservatively about 120 other compounds in the plant. They're not psychoactive. They don't make you feel a certain way. Yeah. They just have really specific, very particular uses in your body. And we all should be using it. It should, but when again, it's still not taught in the medical schools. They're doing courses. I got sent an email to go on a education for medicinal cannabis, and I couldn't go on it actually because I didn't have a GP number. It was only for GPs, so you had to register and put in your GP number. So but only the ones that are obviously open to it are going to go on ahead of that. The ones that are already interested, we don't really need to convince them. All the doctors that just think it's like nonsense, they ain't going to go on that course. So at the moment, like, there's just no knowledge. Most people, everyday people, just don't know how important cannabis is in terms of, it's all this thing about medicine and, it does this for people that have got cancer or epilepsy and all that. It's just a food, a really important food that we should all be consuming. That really is as basic as it can be put.
That was deep, man. That was deep. Deep right there.
It's a strange time in this country, that's for sure, when other countries all around the world are just, I mean, what I will say is, something I wanted to talk to particularly your listeners and that tonight, is that coming up in August, there is a Product Earth, which is the biggest hemp cannabis festival / exhibition, whatever you want to call it. And it's going, I think it's August the 20th to the 22nd. That's up at the NEC arena. It's not the arena, it's the NEC something up in Warwickshire. Amazing venue. You can camp up there over the 3 nights. They've got pods, glamping stuff. You can just take your tent, take a motorhome, caravan, whatever you want. And it really is, honestly, if you anybody that's either loves the plant or anybody that's sort of interested, you've got CBD companies, you've got growers, like grow companies, you've got in industries, hemp and CBD and cannabis industries from all over the world come together. Got all the guys from America, all across Europe, all come together. And it's just an amazing event. It's annoying as well, because each year it seems that hardly anyone in this country knows about it. And yet it really is like my favorite event to go to. It's just the vibes there, the atmosphere are just like unbelievable. It's amazing. So I definitely recommend anybody that's interested in cannabis to just go up and get a little taster of what it's like when what I love about it is just everything's allowed there. So, you know, in terms of smoking, the security, it's all good. Everybody's allowed, even if you were just inside, though, to come up and say, hey mate, do you reckon you could just take that outside, just outside of the exhibition there and just into the courtyard, because it's sort of coming in the door here or whatever. It's just really chilled, relaxed, how things should be in an ideal world, you know, particularly like I say in the UK.
And so what's that Project Earth, yeah?
Product Earth. It's been going since about 2015. And we launched there in 2017. We launched the business Cannasseursuk, and it's just just an amazing event, man. It's like, so I always try and shout about it to people, just because there's just nobody seems to really get it, and it's after it people sort of see the footage and
and I wish I knew about that, man.
I definitely want to go to that next time. And then it's like the same thing next year, where there's not. It's cool. There's like, I think last year there's like about a 5,000 capacity, and they got to about 2.5, which is for those guys.
Oh,
they
nice.
want to fill it.
They
want to fill it though, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear that, man. Well, yeah, people look out for that, man. Shout out to the chat room, Robbie Love, Don Smithered, you're more. Big up the crew, Chris Lahat, long time no see. How you doing, brother? We're right here with some shit you might not never know nothing about. Shout out to the, what's that? The Seki Ninja. I think I got that right.
I think that's what I read it as.
Yeah. I was going to say Teresa for some reason. Shout out to IBMCs and all the crew locked in. Yeah, we got Sam Gibbons right now. This is some shit you might not never know nothing about. Cannasseursuk UK. We're getting into this CBD thing, and we're getting deep into it because, you know, just in case people have got it a little bit twisted. It's not, there are some people who think that CBD just gets you high, like it mongs you out. They're like, oh yeah, you slow down off of that. It's like, no. It isn't like that, man. Actually, I like what you said before. You used the word homeostasis or homeostasis.
Yeah.
Keeping that balance.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's what it does. Like I was saying before, you know, an adaptogen kind of helps with, you know, if you're feeling tired or whatever, it might pick you up a bit. Or if you're feeling a bit too hyperactive, it might chill you out, calm you down. You know what I mean? It kind of gives you that.
Just gives you that balance. That's what people think. How can it do this? How can it do this and that? And it's like, and the mad thing is that, you know, this is scientific in the fact that it's biphasic, which means that like just on dose alone, a small dose and a big dose can do completely two different things. So like if someone might be trying to use it for anxiety, for example, and like a very small dose is absolutely just right, makes them just feel on point, where a large dose can actually make them feel a little bit jittery and a little bit on edge. So it's like it can do it all, but it's just about finding what's right for the individual. Again, because everybody's got a different endocannabinoid system. That's the thing I've come to realize as well. It's just how we process those compounds. Everybody is very, very different, and you'll see that with like THC. You know, some people just are so sensitive to it, and other people, it's like, you know, it's mad when I give people sort of the THC oil, in the fact that, like, you know, we went on a trip to Wales like a couple of weeks back to like we went up a couple of mountains in Wales, and there's like 6 of us, all my pals from, you know, people have all been smokers, but some people don't smoke that much anymore. But like, you know, some people just had a bit and just thought, yeah, this is just all right. I just don't really feel that much. And other people were like, this is like way too intense for me. Like, I can't handle this. But it's like, it's really different, exact same amount, and people just react so differently to it. So there's a lot of factors to it for sure.
That's interesting, that. So, so in that sense, then you'd say like people, you've obviously got to test it out, test the waters first of all before you get.
Yeah, I mean that's the THC stuff, which is that is illegal. That's like just a recreational leisure thing. Like if you're out,
that's the same stuff you gave me. The thing in the
that's right.
Oh, bruv, that was man. When I have that, it's like you're on a. it's soothing, you know, it's very soothing, and I like how it stays in your, you know, the taste always stays there as well, so it reminds you. But like, there are times when it's like, yo, that I feel monged out, you know, where I'm like, I just want to chill. But then there are other times when, there are other times when I think when I'm moving around with it as opposed to sitting down writing or whatever, do you know what I mean? There's a difference, and so I guess it is like that as well. The dosage as well. You got to be ready for whatever dosage you're taking. You know what I mean?
100%. Just getting the dose slightly wrong can be the difference between you like performing a task really well or completely not being able to perform a task at all. You know what I mean? So there is.
That's what happened to me.
Very, very important. The dosage. Just
I'll keep it real, boy. That's it.
Over the years. Is,
and it's also building the what is that then? What is that? Like, what's the
stuff that I gave you?
Yeah.
So what that is, this is really, so, you know, and I'll speak openly about this these days because I just have a moral sort of obligation to do it. But like CBD, like that's the legal side of cannabis. The other side of cannabis is the, you know, the high sort of THC oils, which most people might know as like RSO or Rick Simpson oil, which like previously, going back years, the only way to make that was to take like 100% grain alcohol or some high strength alcohol, or some people use like isopropyl or this nap for some different types of solvents, wash it all in the liquid in with the bud, and then like boil it off, and then eventually you boil it down and you just get left the extract. That to me is a very crude way of making cannabis oil, because one, you want to protect the beautiful compounds in the plant, and you really don't, if you can help it, want to be mixing it in with dodgy toxic solvents that you know could potentially be left in the final product. In the last few years, this is what we've been working on for, it's been about 6-7 years now at least, is like an ancient method of extracting essential oils from plants, and it was called rosin. Originally back in like, you go back a couple of thousand years ago, people would have just took 2 big heated stones, for example, went and got a load of plant, whatever flower it might have been that they would, you know, and they would press these flowers on the really hot stones, and the pressure and the heat would then draw out the essential oils. So whether that was, you know, you might even look at lavender, for example. People extract lavender, all sorts of different things that you can do. And the cannabis plant, this is what we're doing with a cannabis plant now. The amazing thing about the cannabis plant is, whereas, say, for example, lavender has got one smell or terpene, that's what they're known as, and that's called linalool. That the smell of lavender is a terpene called linalool, which you'll find in a lot of cleaning and fragrance products and stuff. That's just one terpene. In cannabis, you've got up to, like these days, you've got like 20 to 30 terpenes, as well as all the other cannabinoids and all those amazing properties. So by us now, we don't use hot, heavy stones anymore. We use basically aluminium plates that are heated to the exact right temperature that we require. And then we put anything up to 10 tons of pressure, depending on what we're looking to do. And then that will extract all the oils out of the plant. We collect those oils in its raw form. It's not psychoactive because it's still not been heated. And if we want to turn it into a psychoactive oil, we heat it at low temperatures, and then it will turn into the THC, not THCA, so the psychoactive THC. You then can just eat that instead of smoking it. And one, it's so much more efficient because, you know, people these days dab in extracts. You might dab like 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams on a dab rig, and that's gone just like that. And you might be high for, you know, half hour, 45 minutes off that. You eat that oil, you might be high for 4 or 5 hours, mate. You know, and you're eating it. There's no smoke, there's no combusting, there's no damage, there's no ill health side to it. You are literally eating the purified extract from the cannabis plant. And mate, for me, it's changed my life. For all the people that are around me that take it on a day-to-day basis, it's like, it is, if you want to like a preventive, like a prophylactic supplement, something that genuinely does, if you want to keep you well and healthy, then taking CBD as an extract every day, but also taking that THC extract every day. You take those 2 every day, mate, and you will be flying. People are loving life, not just for like in terms of like keeping you well and healthy. I mean, even just mental state, like mind state. It's just people's. I see all the time. They go from almost like an anxious, depressed, jittery person to just being able to just relax and just feel easy, and just like people say they're loving life when they start taking it. They'll call me up and say, I'm walking down the road, man, I'm actually just grinning, I'm smiling and just feel well good. It's like it's mad, mate. It really is.
That's mad,
it's
man.
Nuts, mate. It's nuts. It really is.
That's crazy. And so I'm wondering, like, what kind of nutrients are in cannabis as well.
But even with these extracts, all you're not doing is burning plant matter, basically. It's the same stuff you would have been getting before, except now you've managed to just isolate it as much as possible and make it clean as possible and all the rest of it. Yeah.
The mad thing is, when you look at your bit of bud and it's a green bit of bud, the green plant matter, as it were, I believe that's cellulose.
Yeah.
That's just like a byproduct for all the cannabinoids to be imprinted upon. Do you see what I mean? So to hold those goodies, all we're doing is we're taking those goodies away from the cellulose, because you don't really want to be consuming or smoking cellulose. It's almost like pointless. We take away all the components and the cannabinoids. I mean, the other thing is the omega fats in the plant, omega 6, 9, all of the really good omegas. There's more omega fats, and you'll find like in olive oil and stuff, which people say is one of the best oils that you can get, the good oils, as it were. So you've got all of that in there. There's so much goodness in it in terms of a health benefit, that it makes there's no reason for people to not take it. Often people say, even with the THC side of things, they'll go, but I don't want to be high all the time. And I always say, well, just take it before you go to bed. And just get it go. My mum takes it. My mum had cancer a couple of years ago. She had breast cancer, and thankfully she's got through it, and she's cancer free. But she still takes like a maintenance dose of oil every single night before she goes to bed. And the same thing, my mum's well active. She really she wouldn't want to be like, hazed out or sitting there and feeling like she can't get on with stuff. It gets to sort of like 8 o'clock at night. She goes to bed about 9, 10 o'clock. She takes it at 8. It takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to kick in. By the time it's kicking in, she's going to sleep. She goes to sleep. The only difference she notices is that she literally does not get up to go to the toilet anymore in the night, where she always would wake up in the night. Now the oil just knocks her out, and she just sleeps all the way through. And so you can. It is for everybody. Everybody should be taking this. Like, it is. People sometimes think I'm on a bit of a mad one, but it's like, when I've seen in the last, it's however many years I've been doing this now, it's hundreds, if not thousands, of times where I've seen this just not only improve people's physical being, but just amazingly improve their mental well-being. It's mad. It's a mad one, man.
That is crazy, man.
Fascinating.
There's a couple of things I wanted to ask you, but I forgot now. But in terms of like getting, that's it. Do you think, like, because it sounds like, obviously, like you're saying, this was part of our staple diet at one stage in life and all around the world, not just humans, animals as well. But then now, all we know it for is smoking it.
Yeah, is we've been conned.
Yeah, so like, imagine that's a flip right there. Like, we already know about, germ theory, all that terrain theory stuff, legal fiction, all that. Like, it's always a flip. But imagine that could be the flip right there. It's like, just oh shit, when you smoke, like, we're burning all of this so people stop eating it or whatever, and then they realize, like, yo.
And I think I said before that, like, when you burn it, I think you destroy 75% of the compounds when you burn it.
Burn it, yeah. So we're not
you're
getting,
only getting 25% of what you should be getting when you're smoking it. And then it's not being processed through the liver, obviously, which is the most, that's how cannabis should be consumed, is ingested and then letting the liver sort of convert all of the different compounds. Smoking it and it just going straight into your bloodstream that way. It's a quick and effective way of quickly getting something in. Like, people, they're in pain. Sometimes they can't wait an hour and a half for the oil to kick in. Do you know what I mean? They need something right now. And I get that in those cases, vaping or smoking can do a quick job. But long term, taking it on a day-to-day basis, like, we have been conned. Cannabis should never have been smoked. It was never designed. Like I said, it's a food. What food do you smoke?
When you're
When does
saying
it
it's
make any
food.
sense? Like,
Salmon.
you know, it needs to be heated to convert the THC and make it psychoactive. That is the one part of it. But we don't need to be combusting it at 1,000-degree temperatures. You know, THC, it decarboxylate and becomes psychoactive. I think it's like 106.7 Celsius. So like just over that, 110 degrees, you could heat that cannabis at 110 degrees. It preserves all of the compounds. I don't think any of the compounds start degrading until about 120 degrees.
Wow.
So anything under that and over the decarb temperature, you can end up having a completely preserved, beautiful mix of all these retained compounds, but they're activated, psychoactive, ready to go, sort of, you know, in terms of if you want to get high. That's the other thing about it. For people that don't want to get high, you could take an extract where we squish the bud in that rosin method that I told you about, and then don't decarb it, don't heat it, just eat the extract, and it's just THCA. When we had it lab tested, it was like 81% THC, but it was 74% was THCA. So the vast majority of it was just the raw version. When you eat that won't actually even get you high. That's what a lot of people don't realize. They think if they just took their bud and ate it, it would get them high, but you really need to heat it in some form for it to do that.
But it's not right, because even when you cook it, people are using butter which has been heated already.
Yeah, that's when that's the decarb is happening when you're cooking it in the butter. That's why it then, you know, for edibles and stuff.
The thing I've always wondered is how they measure like nutrients. So I'm looking at like the nutrients in hemp, and you know, it's saying it's got a bunch, obviously, like, you know, there's hemp supplements out there, but you got your fats, fibers, calcium, iron, magnesium.
Yeah, I mean, they're mainly the fats,
phosphorus.
other than the cannabinoids, I think. Fats, omega fats.
Yeah, the omega fats.
Yeah.
And so all of that is retained as well after you've heated it, do you think? Or is that, you know, done and dusted? You know, once, because the cannabinoids are still there, you know, like you're saying, all the proteins are still there. And so would the nutrients, in terms of what I've just mentioned, like magnesium, etc. Oh, can you hear me?
Do you know what? I'm not sure, actually, in terms of what you're saying, like, and minerals and stuff that sort of might be in there.
Oh. Yeah, that's exactly. Like the minerals, you know, vitamins and minerals that would be in
there. Do you know what? Actually, I'm not sure, because it's not something that's tested for. I'm pretty sure that there must be.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel if the cannabinoids are in there still, why not? You know, but the thing is like, I always wonder how they measure this stuff. But we understand, like, so, you know, in terms of vitamins, it's got B, C, A, and E. So, you know, really, like, vital. You've got zinc and all that, potassium, you know what I mean? Yeah. But then, obviously, we understand that the stomach acids burn the food down, and then the calories, you know, all the nutrients and that are extracted. But it's interesting that you'd heat it up to that level. So I'm sure maybe we burn it even higher before it starts actually breaking down, and then we use it.
Yeah, potentially.
Guessing, but we've got to look into that, man. That definitely
want to look into that. Yeah, I'm not sure, because for me, it's when we get everything lab tested, it is literally just testing the cannabinoid content. I know in terms of like, it will look at terpenes, it will look at whether they're, you know, what type of fats and like flavonoids and stuff like that in there. But in terms of the actual mineral like components, I'm not sure if they're even in there or not. I'd be very interested now. I almost like want to have a little look.
Man, you know, you're looking kind of young, bruv. Like, you ain't aged, man. So I'm sure there's something going on.
Yeah, something's going on.
You know what I mean? Very interesting, man.
How old are you these days, mate?
Huh?
How old are you these days?
I'm a grand old age.
You don't
put it out there, you know what I mean? Like these, you know what I mean? I'm trying to keep up with these youngers.
You're obviously doing the right stuff as well, aren't you?
Yeah, tried. Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I do my best to eat clean, and that's obviously understanding more. Like, I was lucky enough to do a nutrition course like a few years ago. Yeah. Even over 10 years ago now, man. But it was due to like my cousin getting ill and us being similar age, and I was trying to understand like how could that happen, like what, and then it opened up my mind to a whole bunch of different things, and then all of a sudden I got an email about, oh, do you want to do this nutrition course? And it was like real cheap, and it was like, okay, I thought, let me try it out, and then started digging deeper into it, because obviously you got to do a lot of research, you got to do investigating. Yeah. I don't like to call it research because it means you searched for it before, like you're researching. But it's actually, you know what I mean? I'm searching now. So so having to do certain, it's funny, I was chatting to my friend earlier about this, but having to do like tables on, you know, the sort of the pros and cons of taking certain vitamins, and if you don't have enough or if you have too much, and then, you know, me being me, I've got that Saturnian sort of like, I want to really get this, you know, I want to like pinpoint exactly what the problem is. So I delved deep into it and started realizing things like there are two forms of vitamins and minerals. There are like the natural form, which is extracted from a plant or whatever, or from some kind of, you know, something grown from the ground. And then there is the form that is made in the lab. So there are two different forms of vitamins and minerals. Yeah. And until you know that, you won't realize. And the form that is usually what I was seeing, like a common thread, you know, like obviously being in the music world, we've got that pattern recognition thing where you start seeing something the same all the time. You keep seeing the same thing. And what I was seeing was the, you know, all of the like stuff that was made in a lab that was obviously trademarked and patented, and you know what I mean? That wasn't of life, that wasn't natural, was the shit where you get some kind of problem and whatnot. Yeah. But when it was all natural stuff, you know, and I probably didn't even have to look into it that deep, but just because my mind, that's how I am. I like to like learn things.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on like supplemented like vitamin C and vitamin D, like tablets and that? Because my thought has always been like, where are they getting that vitamin D and vitamin C from? Do you see what I'm saying? Is that like extracted so you'll from see like plants, or is that something that they're just creating?
Exactly. So because you can look at the what constitutes a certain molecule, and then you can try your best to replicate it in a lab and whatnot. And so this is the type of thing they do. Yeah, and so you'll see
synthetic CBD. They create it using yeast, and they grow it in yeast, and they just grow the same sort of compound.
And so it's not of nature, innit? It's not natural. It's not like just grown because it wants to grow.
It's funny you say that, because already there's like the synthetic CBD stuff. It actually comes with like a list of side effects, which are like the exact same things that natural CBD actually treats, and yet like the list of side effects on the synthetic stuff is like giving you the same shit that it should be helping you with. It's like, you know, how can it do both things? You know what I mean?
It's nuts, man. And so you know, so I started seeing these things where I was like, hold on a minute, but if you get it naturally, and you know, there are even studies that talk about it. They say like, oh, funny enough, not in those words, but they're saying like, when you compare to a natural form, say like vitamin C from, you know, cherries or camu or orange or, you know, whatever, even spinach or whatever, you know, kale and things like that, you wouldn't think. You know, there's certain things that have way more vitamin C than an orange, but everyone talks about an orange.
They do.
But regardless, you eating an orange to get your vitamin C, there are not going to be any side effects apart from you probably being a bit more.
C tablet or,
but when you go and get a vitamin C tablet, and the name on it, you go and Google the name and you'll see. It's so easy as well, because you just have to Google like the name, what name there is it really, you know, look at the ingredients and you'll find out. And then you'll see, you know, that, it's not even from a fruit or anything. It's not from a plant or anything. It's just made, you know, it's trademarked and whatnot. And that's where you're going to get your side effects. But naturally, when it's natural, your body's just going to get rid of it. Because it knows what it is. But when it doesn't know what's going on, it's like, okay. So that's why you'll see with a lot of vitamin C stuff, it will say, do not exceed, you know, it's because you'll start popping up with spots, or something's going to happen where your body's like, yo, okay, I don't really know what to do with all this other stuff. You got all these fillers, you know, when it says, filler, and it's whatever, stearate or some kind, it's just like, nah, you don't need all of that, man. So that's what I think about it, like in a sort of nutshell. There's a whole, I mean, I want to do a show on that just to get people to understand.
But this is the thing though, you know, this is just like, you know, all CBD, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, that's all just part of the bigger thing about nutrition. And that's the same thing when I'm saying to you about food and that. People that are looking to just live well and eat healthy, this is just something that should just be added to that sort of list of foods that you consume that just keep you well. It's that straightforward, really. It shouldn't really be seen like item medicine, and I don't really need medicine. It's more like, this is just a good food. You know, even if you see some of the hemp protein powders now, people are buying this crap protein shit that they're, it's in all sorts of stuff in it now. And obviously people going to the gym and then consuming like these protein shakes and all that. And
look at the
I'm
ingredients.
Not being funny.
It's easy.
I had it once, and someone said, "Yeah, just try some of these shakes. They're actually all right." And I drank one of these shakes, and for the next 2 hours, I must have had about, I don't know what was wrong with me. I must have had about 10 pisses in 2 hours, and then I just felt terrible for the rest of the day. And I just thought, I like to say, if you eat hemp protein or any just protein in normal foods that you can get protein from, I've never felt like that before. And the minute I then consume this, and then when you look at it, like you say, you look on the side and there's just so much crap that goes with it, as well as wherever they're getting that particular protein from, that, it's just absolutely no need for it. We've got all the natural food out there that's got all this stuff in it rather than taking it from artificial sources. So it's a mad one.
And I mean, and going back to the hemp thing, like, this is how deep it gets, people. I'm sure you've heard me say it before, but it blew my mind when I heard this. I was like, oh, no wonder. When you see the baby there sucking on that breast, and then they're just on it like crazy. And then when they come off there, they're like, yeah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Or you see them clucking for it. Booby. Like, you see them clucking for it like a crackhead, boy. Huh?
Yeah, man.
Like an 8-month-year-old crackhead. You're like, right, what the hell's going on here? It's because of
that's
this.
a mad one, isn't it? Because can you, it's like, like they say, like a crackhead, and people say, like, they look at, that's the thing that gets me sometimes as well, is that people like see how much that I take, and they're like, oh, you're basically addicted to it. And I'm like, well, obviously I'm addicted to it because it's really good for you. And actually the conversation then goes into, if something's really good for you, it's not like I'm addicted to it. It's just doing me really good. So obviously I'm going to carry on taking it.
You're addicted to good food.
Because it's seen as like a drug. It's like, oh no, taking that drug is never going to be good if you're doing it every day. And I'm like, no, you need to look at your perspective about what this is. It's not a drug, like a substance. Your body's like a toxin and it needs it out. And if you consume it every day, it's going to like build up and lead to problems. Your body's yearning for this stuff. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a, it's
and this is the thing.
It's be like completely taken out of the drug category. It's not a drug. It's not a substance where, like, I always say this to people, on the basic level, you drink alcohol, and you'll be clear of that alcohol in about, 12 hours? I know people that have been pissed out their heads and then being tested in the morning, and they're like, somehow they're clear. And what I say to that is that your body, that's a toxin, it wants it out, so it just gets rid of it straight away. There's nothing in there that's any good that it wants to hold on to. Cannabis, you smoke a joint, get tested by the police, pulled over a month later, you're not high in the slightest. You've still got cannabinoids in your system, though. Your body holds on to those compounds. There's a reason it holds on to those compounds, because they're not toxic, they're not poisonous, they're actually being utilized by your body. They're still there a month later. Do you see what I'm saying? It goes to show your body's telling you the difference between these substances. One is kicking out of it straight away and saying, like, what are you doing this for? The other one, it's saying, oh, great, I'm holding on to this. And like I say, a month later, you get a test and it's like, all these compounds are still floating around in your system. It's because they're still useful, they're still being used, rather than being seen as like a poison, and your body wants to just get it out of the system straight away. So it's just, like I say, it often gets put in weed with drinking, with cocaine, with whatever it is. It's nothing like any of those things. They're all poisons. They're all substances. And I'm not against these things per se. In my eyes, I think we should legalize all drugs. That's probably a debate like for another day. But, but at the same time, cannabis isn't a drug. It's not a substance. It's not something that can be abused like that. So I wanted to just share something with you just quickly, man, as well. So I think you'll find it interesting.
Yeah, please do, man.
It's to do with a vaccine, and it's to do with cannabis, in the fact that I've got a guy at the moment, and he's basically being diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I've got to know this guy really well. And he's 40, and he suffered with, all he had, was he had an inflammatory condition of his liver. Yeah, but it's never caused him any major health problems. It's just something that he's always had. It's been passed down like hereditary or whatever. And because he's got this condition that's never really caused him any problems, when the vaccine came along, he was classified as one of these vulnerable people. Like, it's basically anybody that had any sort of condition got put into this vulnerable category. And bearing in mind this vaccine wasn't tested, instead of them saying, well, actually all the vulnerable people, well, hang on a minute, like, do we actually know what this is actually going to do? Because he's got a liver condition, they said, right, yeah, you need the vaccine, because somehow, I don't know how, if COVID gets you, you're going to be more at risk because you've got this just sort of minor liver condition. So he really wasn't sure about taking it. Yeah, he really wasn't sure, this guy. And because of what he had and being told or whatever, and the scare tactics at the time, he had the vaccine. And literally within 24 hours of having the first vaccine, he went completely jaundice. Yeah, so he's gone completely yellow. Gone into hospital, doing tests on him. They can't really work out what's going on. But what they decide to do to try and stop this jaundice is to put a stent, which I didn't even know stents can go. I thought stents were like going in the heart to do certain things, but they basically put a stent in his bile duct, right? And the minute they put this stent in his bile duct, it did actually stop him being jaundiced. His colour came back, and he was normal. So like he carried on as normal. This is going back only just over a year ago now, right? When that stent was first fitted. So that stent's gone into his bile duct. When he came to have his second vaccine, immediately after having his second vaccine, it's perfect. And this is, the doctor said it was the vaccine that did this. It gave him a perforated gallbladder, right? So that was just a thing that then happened after that. So this guy's already...
Wait. Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Didn't they perforate his gallbladder before?
No.
They put a stent in it.
They put a stent in it. What's a stent?
They put a stent. His stent's like a little...
Opens.
In his
yeah, it
bile duct.
opens, keeps the bile duct open, so it allows it to continue working in essence and doing its job. Yeah, sort of holds it open. The gallbladder is a separate thing. This is something, he's never had any problems with his gallbladder, but all of a sudden he's ended up with a perforated gallbladder. He's gone into hospital. He's sort of got that dealt with, and they've let him out, and he's gone on. Anyway, over the next few months or whatever, he started to get some pains. He's getting some side pain. He's starting to, start to really notice it. Anyway, go to 6 months ago, he's gone and had some tests at the hospital, and they've come back and they've told him he's got cancer in a bile duct, and the tumor is so big that they can't operate on it. And all they can do for him is, if he wants it, they can give him a token gesture of chemotherapy to try and prolong his life. But in essence, it's terminal, and there's nothing that they can do for him. Right now, this guy went through a chemotherapy session, made him feel terrible. He wasn't sure about it. He didn't want to do it. He's been taking the oil, and this guy's been caning the oil. Like, he's been absolutely caned. I'd say for the last 3 months or so, he's been taking the oil now. I think he's had about like a lot of dosages now. He takes like 1 mil to 1.2 mil a day. When he's felt terrible for the chemo, it's made him feel absolutely terrible. The oncologist has basically, this guy is a lovely guy, and the oncologist now has got to the point, because he's questioning him about, like, what are my options? Like, you're just going to give me this chemo, it makes me feel terrible. He's researched it and found out it was like the most cost-effective type of chemotherapy you can give somebody. It's like the cheapest shit you can give somebody, yeah. And this guy doesn't want to die. He's looking for options. They're not giving him anything, yeah. So he had the first chemo, that was terrible. When he's gone back for his scans recently, and he's gone to find out more as to why this can't be operated on, mate, it fucking turns out that the tumor is wrapped around the stent. Yeah, the tumor itself is wrapped around the stent, which they fitted. And before they fitted the stent, there was no cancer. They've now fitted a stent in his bile duct, and within like 6 months of that being fitted, he's got a tumor so big and so like aggressive, they can't operate on it. And so they've given him no hope. Yeah, it's mental. This guy now, you can imagine when I'm sitting with him, like, you don't even want to talk about it, because obviously it's done. He had the vaccine, it is done. But at the same time, this guy is just looking at this shit now. Like, he's lost 5 stone. I have to say, he came round to my house this weekend to pick up some oil. And my goodness, mate, he looks so much better in the last few weeks. He quit his old chemotherapy course. He's just been taking the oil. They're not giving him anything now. All they're talking about to him now is a hospice. And when this guy came round to me the other day, the first time I saw him, he looked like ill. He looked like he had cancer. When he came round to me the other day, this guy looks healthy. He looks like, you wouldn't be able to tell he's got cancer now. He's looking great.
What,
he's
he started seeing?
Patient. Yeah, all he's taking is a gram of oil a day. They're telling him that he needs to start going now, talking to the hospice. I said, you're going to the hospice? That's a place you literally go to die. before long, they're going to start giving you end-of-life drugs, fentanyl, all these things that bring you into an induced coma. This shit, it's almost like euthanasia for cancer patients in this country. Once you get to a certain point of terminal cancer, they'll just say, right, that's it. We're not going to give you no more treatment. We want you to go to the hospice, and you basically we want you to go there, shut up, and just go and die. Basically,
is it like palliative care or so? That's what they call
palliative care, exactly that. And the mad thing is, anyway,
managing your death.
Exactly. Cannabis is the only palliative care there should be anyway, mate. It's 100% in terms of for people for end-of-life treatment. It does everything that you need. I've had family members, loads of family members over the years that have said, like, thank you, because they had their family member actually with them right till the end. They weren't in an induced coma. They were able to talk. They weren't in pain. They were able to tolerate it. They had actually like a beautiful sort of spiritual moment. That should be the go-to thing when it comes to palliative care, not for opiates like fentanyl that just kill people. You know, it's nuts what's going on in this country. The pharmaceutical industry and not the medical. I'd say like elective surgery, just going and having surgery on something, great. In terms of chemotherapy, radiotherapy, like these things are not helping people at all. My wife's worked in cancer care, and she knows the stats about the amount of people that actually die from chemotherapy, not from the cancer. It's nuts, mate. It's about a quarter of cancer patients that actually die from the chemo, not from the actual cancer itself.
The stats are out there, man. People, you say it to people and they just think, whatever, man, you just watching YouTube videos. It's like, nah, you have to go to the source. You have to be like, okay, whatever you see, whatever you read, you have to make sure that is actually true. And when you see it, you're like, rah. And that is so easy to hide it by just making people think that, oh, that's a load of bollocks. It's as simple as that. And they won't bother go check. They won't bother go and confirm that what they believe is actually true. And they know it now. They don't just believe it. They actually know it. But once you know, it's like, yo, and it's hard to know, I think. You know what I mean? I think for a lot of people, it's hard to go there and be like, rah.
It's nuts, the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That guy, Aaron, like, what do you say to that guy? You know, he under good faith thought the best thing to do for him with a minor condition was to have the vaccine, and he's now sitting with a terminal cancer within less than 12 months of all this sort of starting. You know, it's like, and then the mad thing is, I don't know about you, and I'm not knocking, like, COVID's obviously there, and I'm sure there are some people that have had like issues and lost people or whatnot. I mean, I don't know. Me personally, I don't know anybody that's died of COVID. I don't know anybody. I hear these things where you have friends that go, yeah, but my mate's granddad died, or my so-and-so. Like, I hear those sorts of things, but I don't know anybody personally. I don't know anybody like in the local area. Yet I know of numerous people now, local and close to me, that have had I've got a guy in the local football team that I played for that got like developed Guillain-Barré syndrome after having the vaccine, and he hasn't been able to walk since the first. This is ages. This is nearly 2 years ago. I think this guy had the first vaccine. Whenever it first came out, like 18 months, year ago, or whatever. He got so ill, his immune system started attacking itself. And had to like clean out all of his blood. He's not been able to. He's only just started to walk again after sort of 12 months. This guy was like a football player playing football and that, you know. And he's like, saying, oh well, but you know, if I didn't have it, then you know, who knows? I might have got COVID and died. This sort of shit. And you're just like, man, are people really like? I know I'm seeing people that are having the vaccine. Another guy had the vaccine, started having heart problems. And I'm seeing this happen to people. And I don't know anybody when it comes to the vaccine that has actually when it comes to COVID, that has just got COVID. And all I've seen, I've had loads of more from my family have had it, loads of mates, and everyone just had it and was like, well, either feel a bit rough or they didn't even know they had it. You know what I'm saying? And people are just chucking this mental alien, untested shit in their bodies, like, and it's going to be like a yearly thing. You wait, the wave's coming back. They'll introduce it again in September. There'll be another one coming. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with people, man, because that's like first-hand experience I've got with this guy. I've got to know Aaron like really well, and like hearing this story come from him about his, you know, what's happened to him like this weekend, it's just sort of blown me away. It just made me angry at the fact that, you know what I mean, people are actually either dying or getting serious illness from these vaccines. That's facts. It's not a conspiracy. It's happening with my own eyes. You know what I mean?
That is crazy, bro. That is crazy, man.
It is.
Jeez. All right, let's give a quick shout out to the CMOS boss. before we carry on, and then our brother D's gonna bounce whilst we get a bit more into it with our brother Sam Gibbons, Cannasseursuk UK. Shout out to the CMOS boss.co.uk, mother lovers. If you need to get, so we, it's good that we're talking about nutrition as well, because like I always say, man, CMOS is one of them that's it's next level. And it's not just about CMOS. They've all types of sea vegetables, whether it be wakame, dulse, bladderwrack, sea spaghetti, and of course Irish moss, spirulina as well. They've got like some real spirulina. All these products are wild crafted. That means organic and wild, not just like organic and hey, let me help you grow. It's like organic and fuck you, bro, I'm surviving out here. Do you know what I mean? So, the level of strength is second to none. And yeah, man, check out the cmosboss.co.uk if you want to get any of their products. That's also gels as well. And trust, when we're talking about nutrients, do your due diligence and searching for some information on that, and you'll find out like how. I mean, the thing is as well, you got to really dodge the hijack, as they say. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can look for information and it ain't really, So you got to correlate that. You got to make sure like you do your due diligence to make sure you are getting the right information. But when you do, you can get a lot of that on cmosboss.co.uk. Hit them up and make sure you, when you get to the checkout, you type in about 20 and you'll get yourself 20% off any of their products, courtesy of some shit you might not never know nothing about, bitches and bitchettes. Nice one. Yeah, I couldn't find it. That's why I was like, yo, where is that?
I just had to add it in. Yeah, well, it's on a page with just me and you on it normally, so I've had to add it to a couple of other pages.
Okay. Yeah, man. And so I wanted to get into this as well because I found this really interesting, right? It's to do with cannabinoids found in breast milk.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about this from early, right? And so then here's one, I just do that and then transition it.
That's
same thing. Click
sorry,
that.
Sam. We're just finishing off because I've got to go.
Yeah, you've got
I
to bounce.
I need to get some sleep.
Yeah.
So this is it. You're on this screen now.
Yeah.
And then the only other bit you're going to need is the outro.
Yeah.
One shot.
Yeah.
Back to you, then just click transition and you're out.
Or I'll do his, but I'm gonna do his as well.
Oh yeah. So yeah, just click that eye, and then do.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Go to sorry K and Skype there. The next one up, and then I'll have to add it in there. But yeah,
freestyling.
Yeah.
Look, so while D does that, listen to this, yeah? If the body naturally has cannabinoid receptors, it must then produce its own cannabinoids.
Yeah.
Well, there would have been no sound biological reason to develop them, right?
No. Yeah.
So research indicates that the human body has in fact evolved to both produce and utilize its own cannabinoids. Evolved, you know what I mean? You don't know. Dodge the hijack there. You know, it might have been there just from the beginning. You know what I mean? Which are more than likely if it's everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it comes as no surprise that these endogenous compounds are transferred to the infant via cannabinoids in breast milk, baby. Yeah. According to the findings of several major scientific studies, human mothers naturally produce cannabinoids in breast milk. And furthermore, these cannabinoids are vital for proper infant development. They are classified as a specific type of neuromodulatory lipid, which is lipids are fat, right?
That's how important they are.
So yeah,
anybody
that's
wants
set up
any
now,
convincing of how important they could be, packed full of it in the breast milk. They also know, like in terms of fitness. So when you do strenuous exercise, your body is producing huge amounts of endocannabinoids. So one say part, and this is all part of the healthy living, is the healthier you live and the more exercise you do, the more endocannabinoids, internal cannabinoids your body's going to produce. So then you would need actually to supplement with the external actually less, because your own endocannabinoid system would be firing on all cylinders. without the need for external cannabinoids. They've done an actual test at the University of Cambridge where strenuous exercise, and then they did there's a place in Israel now that can do an endocannabinoids a test to show your levels. And they said that like the difference from people that when they've done no exercise and then an hour's worth of strenuous exercise, their endocannabinoid levels just go through the roof. And then that then explains why obviously you get the great benefits from it, even why you get that little buzz from doing exercise, you know, makes you feel good, gives you appetite, all of those sorts of things. It's well interesting.
Boy, there's so much about it, right? And it's just the fact that from the point of birth, this is what you're looking for. Do you know what I mean? This is what you're searching for. Like what this write-up was saying is research suggests that one of the main functions these cannabinoids in breast milk is, or of the main functions, is to help a newborn child to feed by stimulating the suckling process. Without cannabinoids in breast milk, infants will not be stimulated with a desire to feed. Bam. They ain't even got to think about it. Baby don't even know how to think. And
that's
look at that.
The thing, you know, the more you read this sort of stuff, it's just like, you know, there is no debate. Why am I not taking this? Why am I not using this plant? It's there. It's been put there. It's been there since the dawn of time. It's been the most used plant for the, you know, mental and physical well-being of all mammals. All mammals have an endocannabinoid system, so anyone that's got an endocannabinoid system can sort of benefit from it. You know, it's just, who knows, man. I think in 10-20 years time we may look back and the world will look at things slightly different. I think the dogma and like the stigma around it is slowly changing. Definitely people are coming around to it a lot more. Like I can have conversations with people that I would never even dream of having conversations about cannabis with, that are now open to talking about it and aware that it's not just bad and it has its uses and all that. So people are eventually going to come round. But I always think now we're so ahead of the curve, people that are really involved in this, that I think we'll look back in years to come with like, it'll be a mad time to look back on when so little people had any understanding of it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they've done a pretty good job so far. Do you know what I mean? Like, if there's any truth as well to what we've been talking about, in you know, in terms of them flipping it and then make them smoke it. Like, shit, you know what I mean? They can't eat it.
Give it to them, but let them smoke it.
Make them cross strains and, you know, make up all the, and do a whole, you know what I mean? give them a date. Give them 420. Yes, exactly. 42. That's a good number in geometry.
Every day, exactly. Every single day.
Yo! Have they done that to us?
One day,
There's a thing about either calling it marijuana or cannabis as well, isn't it? There's like some legal term.
I'd never call it marijuana. It's a racist term.
Is it?
That's how it was introduced into the US as a racist term. They used to use the word marijuana, and I think it was like, you know, in the times that was brought about, it was about marijuana. Like Mexicans using this marijuana, and they'll come and rape your wife, and you know, this is like they were nuts on it. Like the reefer madness like agenda in the US was they went in hard on it, and it worked. You know, in the days when media was the gospel, well, you know, mainstream media on the telly, they went in hard. Some of the old adverts you can find on the internet are hilarious, that like, you know, the propaganda adverts around cannabis. So like, I'd never call it marijuana. I mean, even the word weed, like, it's so far from a weed. Like, I don't even really like that term, to be honest with you. Weed makes it seem like it's something that's not good. Like, you want to get rid of a weed, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Whereas so far from a weed.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even that, calling it a weed.
Yeah. Eat dope.
And
no, I mean, that's a hippie for like, you know, like my parents' generation would call it smoking dope. I'm like, dope? What do you mean dope? Why is it dope? What, you're a dope if you smoke it?
Yeah,
or
it makes
like...
it dopey, innit?
Yeah, I know, but it's just all these negative connotations where like these days, like, you know, like motivated stoners, like you go to the US where like professional athletes, like NBA players, like American football players are using it like standardly. You know, I think they've most sports now, they've actually increased the THC allowance. So it's gone from like 15 milligrams or something to like 150 milligrams. So it's like 10 times the amount. So It's
Jesus, man.
People are definitely using it more and more, and it's been a lot more widely accepted. It seems apart from this place. So, but
that's in terms of like, think about it. That's all in terms of like smoking it, and I guess in medicinal purposes. It's still not nutritional purposes, isn't it?
No, that's how it should be. This is what I was saying about when I did this talk for the Master Association of British Herbalists, and I was trying to say to these people that are like, a lot of them are like still got that thing where they're herbalists and they deal with all these herbal compounds, and yet when it comes to cannabis, they're like, don't want to know about that. And I'm trying to say to them, this is your plant. You need to take this back and take it back into the foods. This is a food. It's weird that the herbalist is like, if in my opinion, the plant should be given back to them. That's when you look back to the early 1800s and when the tinctures were being made up, they're being made up by herbalists. They won't be made up by doctors. Nothing like that.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? As well, how it switches. And because obviously like we understand science, it came from somewhere, it started somewhere. And the original science was the study of nature, was just the study of like, how does this work? How do birds fly? How does grass grow? How all of these things that we're trying to answer. And then obviously when, turn of whatever century comes in, then people decide like, no, science is man coming up with these things.
This is where we're going wrong, mate. This is where we're heading towards the apocalypse, mate, I think. It's serious.
It's like man trying to play God. Oh, how about if we... Well, I don't know if it's true or not, but about the whole... was it in China or somewhere or Japan maybe, where they threw up a sun? People are saying that they tried to put a sun up there. Or, people talk about them trying to block out the sun and all this and that. And that's all man-made shit trying to do that. It's like,
right, human beings, man. This is changing people's DNA and that. There's a guy, his name escapes me. I've just watched it recently, and this guy's really concerning. And he's doing like TED Talks, and he's like one of these top. I can't remember his name. I wish I could. And he's talking about how they're playing God, and it should be celebrated, and how we don't need like divine creation anymore. We've become the creators, and we can now. And I'm just listening to this, and this is the same sort of thing about when I'm saying earlier about taking this wonderful plant, this divine plant. Nature's beautiful. It's got perfect in every way. We don't need to take that and then try and create it in a laboratory and synthesize it. And why? We've got the natural one there already. That's only like a pharmaceutical thing, isn't it? To like take control and have ownership over these compounds.
Yeah, I guess that's
compounds.
That's the nature of the threat, as they say, isn't it? As Razgat said, the nature of the threat. Yeah. And it seems to be to just take over whatever's good. Because, like we're saying, you hear a lot of negative stuff to do with CBD when we're like, right, honestly, it doesn't do anything bad for you. Do you know what I mean? Right. But that always happens. When it was like, oh, you should use olive oil to cook or whatever. No, olive oil's got this and that. Okay, you should use coconut oil. No. Coconut oil.
That's bad, isn't it? Yeah,
there's always someone's going to come out, and it just so happens to be, the same from the similar entities. The same sort of people that are like, no, you should get this. This is better than that. And you find out like, oh, they're linked with this. Do you know what I mean? Through the back door. Agendas. So it's up, but honestly, it is up to you. It's you, the individual, that's got to really find out, like, okay, what makes sense then? What should I really be doing? Let me find out from other people. What do you think? What do start talking to each other and spreading the word at the same time as getting the sort of, a bit more knowledge on what makes sense. And then you can see it. You can understand like, oh, with all the natural shit, you're cool. But as soon as you start going there, these
issues start.
What I mean? Start tucking in.
I'll tell you what I've seen recently, which has been is good to see. It's promising to see, and it's coming from people that I wouldn't even normally expect that sort of thing from. But I'm seeing a lot of people like from different angles that are now starting to use mushrooms and like microdosing magic mushrooms and stuff. Like I'm seeing it becoming quite a big thing, and that's quite refreshing to see, because obviously there's like the taboo and the stigma around psychedelics is like they push that one hard, you know what I mean? They put 95% of the population way off ever touching psychedelics because like the fear that they put into it about it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I've seen a lot of people recently that are like not your typical type of people you might expect to sort of be delving into that are sort of like people are having such good results from it that then other people are trying it. And particularly with the amount of like mental health and problems that are going on in this country at the moment, like it's a massive epidemic. I think people are now starting to look for like alternative therapies, because obviously, man, I've got a good friend of mine that's really, really suffering through deep trauma, really. And I won't go as much. It's to do with sort of bereavement, and he's really struggling. But in terms of the mental health service, the social care in this country, it's literally non-existent. It is non-existent. Like that, all the GP is going to offer you is to take medication and to get on like your diazepam or your antidepressants, or just get sectioned. Like there is no actual support or help from anybody that's gone through serious trauma or having serious issues to do with whatever it is. Obviously, loads of people are really struggling mentally. So I think people are looking to like, something that's, away from the medical industry, because they're not helping anybody at the moment. You can't even speak to, you can't see anybody, you can't get anything done really. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Mushrooms are, that's something that I've spent much of my life, like, cannabis is and always will be my main sort of like focus, as it were, and sort of expertise and my passion. But at the same time, also the psychedelic world of particularly mushrooms, the healing properties of mushrooms and how they can be used, like definitely higher dosages for like actual psychedelic experience can be really useful in their own right, particularly for if you need a quick fix or a quick intervention to fix it or to sort an issue out or to try and break a cycle. Like a proper psychedelic trip can be amazing. And then also just microdosing it on a day-to-day basis. You're not getting, you're not actually tripping out or nothing. But I've seen so many people saying that they just don't feel the need to drink anymore. They've just stopped smoking. They're like super like switched on and aware, and their concentration levels have gone up, and they don't feel anxiety and they don't feel depressed anymore. It just goes on
from microdosing.
Yeah, microdosing mushrooms, man. Yes. Again, mycelium itself is so like probably one of the biggest miracles on this planet, that stuff. Like, what even is it? Like, what's it all doing? I've been reading some stuff recently about it, about how it's all connected, and how they're saying they even believe it might have some form of consciousness, which probably all living beings have in some way. But mycelium in general, where the spores sort of come from and are formed, it's an amazing thing. They say a lot of, they basically believe, don't they, that all the life came from it.
Do they?
Yeah,
from mycelium. Yeah. And so, because there's like there are hints of imagery like in scripture and all that to do with mushrooms.
Yeah,
like you see sort of tapestry and all that in old buildings and whatnot.
I always say this. How do you think Moses was seeing the burning bush and all of that, man? I swear they were definitely. There's like a well-known Jewish scholar that he's written loads about how he believes that like in those times everybody was on the psychedelics.
Yeah.
And that is why everybody was having such divine sort of spiritual sort of
journeys and that.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's what is. I'm glad you mentioned that word, because I was going to ask if you feel there is some, with the mental health thing. Do you feel like there is some sort of spiritual connection, or lack of, even, that may help? And this is why psychedelics, because people often, obviously you hear about psychedelic, and this is probably another one of them flips where they brought in that whole LSD era. You know what I mean?
Get the man-made one out there. Chuckle that out there.
And bam. So you just
I know loads of people that have lost it off LSD, mate. Simple.
And so mess people up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, mess people up. And so they don't know which is which. And so when you talk about shrooms, they're thinking, you're one of them trip heads on LSD, blah, blah, blah.
You'll lose it on that. People have lost it on those psychedelics.
It's a synthetic version, like,
really?
That's the synthetic version, and that's what I'm saying. Synthetic.
No,
it has the word sin in it.
Yeah.
that's all you need to know.
The spirituality is very important. And that is, like, for me personally, at like 25 years old, I'm 39, just turned 39, so like up to 14 years ago, which is quite mad. Up to 25,
bro.
What's that?
Looking 25 though.
Cheers. I must have frozen in time from that moment. But I did I'd never done any psychedelics, and I was a mad control freak and dominated by fear in many respects. I had all sorts of phobias and weird things, and couldn't let myself lose control. And I didn't believe in anything. I was an atheist, as it were. I didn't believe in any other reality, dimensions, heaven, and how any of that. I just believed it as this, and I've never seen anything else. And a good friend of mine just turned up at my door when I was 25, and he basically sort of made me smoke this stuff, and I didn't even know what it was. I didn't believe in psychedelics. I thought it was all nonsense when people said they were tripping out, seeing stuff and all that sort of crap. It's how naive I was and how ignorant I was even 14 years ago. And I ended up smoking a bit of it. It didn't really do anything, so I said, I'm going to bed. And he ended up saying, no. He made me do it. And there was a bucket on my table in the old days of having a bucket in your bedroom, basically, like bongs. And he pulled me 2 of these buckets, and I didn't realize, I know all about this thing now, which was like the strongest version of Salvia Divornum, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Salvia.
Yeah, I've heard of Salvia, man. They used YouTube videos used to go around, boy.
Like, obviously, a lot of people will take it and just stay in this reality because they're not burning it hot enough, and 2, they're not consuming enough of it in one hit. It's meant to be burnt like really hot, even best doing it like a blowtorch or something to make it go real bright orange. But if you burn it at real hot temperatures, the sort of psychedelic effects, as it were, are much more intense. Anyway, I did this thing, so I just thought it was a placebo and it weren't going to do nothing to me. I sank 2 of the fattest 2-litre buckets of this stuff, and I just completely... I left. I went unconscious, as it were, mate. Instant toss. I won't go into it too long. We'll be here all night. But like,
you went into one.
It changed. I was unconscious. My pal, I was stuck down the side of my bed. Just he couldn't wake me up. And what I saw when I was gone was nuts stuff, mate. It was all to do with time travel. I ended up seeing future moments of my life that hadn't happened, and then I ended up living those moments years later. It was a lot of it was all to do with cannabis. Like the whole experience put me on this like path, as it were, to do with cannabis.
Wow!
It gave me, honestly, I had a moment. It all culminated in Amsterdam in 2014 when a stranger walked out of a fucking alleyway and said 2 words to me that that no human being could know those words, and he said those words to me, and I knew it was something else. The guy actually grabbed hold of me and whispered in my ear, it was God, and he sees me, and it changed my life, mate, forever.
What?
Yeah, it changed my life forever. And the mad thing, check this out, was that
what, and you saw that in your
I saw
journey.
it. I didn't realize until the guy came out of the alley. It was all dark. When I was on this experience, I just kept coming up into different realities. I was trying to find. I was so gutted. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. So all of a sudden, I'm just gone from my reality in my room where my mate is, and it's just chucking me into these different realities. And I'm coming up into these rooms, seeing these people, might be in a dark street, seeing someone I don't know, recognize who this person is. I'm thinking, who the fuck is this? This ain't my mate in my room. And then I'll just fly back out of it, and I'd see this big metallic cog in front of me. And then I'm in this mad, bright, yellowy, orange, golden place with this cog in front of me, and I'm getting drawn towards this cog, and then I'm coming up into another room or street, and I'm seeing these people, and I'm thinking, I don't even know who the fuck is this. Mate, the mad thing was, I ended up I saw my daughter before she was even born, this little girl I remember seeing. Thinking, what? This man. And then years later, I'm on holiday in Cyprus in this white room, and my daughter just grew up like almost overnight on this holiday. And I saw it before she was even born. It's fucked up. The dude in Amsterdam that said these words to me, when he looked up out of the darkness, out of nowhere, he just came up to me and he asked me for change first of all, and I gave him some change, and like he said, like what he does there for my brother was performing, in the dam, and I said, I'm just here for this music festival, and then all of a sudden I hadn't done anything, I hadn't said nothing to the guy, and he just looked down at the floor, and then as he looked back up at me, instantaneously I felt like I was on salvia again. What I felt like was my consciousness from all those years ago, where I came up 14 years ago. It felt like I came up into my body 14 years ago, and I felt like myself from 14 years ago almost come into my body. So I felt like I was on salvia all of a sudden, and I knew exactly what this guy was going to say before he even said it. And he looked up and said the words to me, and with a big grin on his face, and I just burst into tears. And then I actually got angry. I got a bit angry because I'm shouting at the guy saying, like, why would you say that to me? You don't even know me. Why would you say those words to me? And he grabbed hold of me really tightly, and he just whispered in my ear, it is God. He sees you. And I'm just like, well, I'm just spun out by it all, mate. And like I say, I never knew at the time I was working like a shitty sales job. And like my daughter had just been born, my firstborn, and like, you know, it's tough times, and I didn't really know what I always knew in life that I wanted to help. I didn't really know how I could help. I just knew I wanted to help basically the world in some way. And it was mad. I was actually, after that experience, I felt pretty guilty and a bit bemused, like, why me? I'm just some fucking guy working in some shitty job. Like, why are you communicating with me? What is it you want me to do? And like, what is it? And the mad thing was, I was always well passionate about cannabis. It was always the thing that I was known for, had the knowledge on, and it was mental, but I never see that could be a thing. It was just like, again, see how we've been conditioned that it was never presented that it could be a career or a path in life for me. Do you see what I'm saying? It was just something that I did. And so then I asked, and I'd ask over like the next 6 months, man, I went through some mad times actually reaching up and saying, like, in this shit job, saying like, what am I supposed to be doing? Show me, like, actually show me. And then, mate, Cannasseursuk, the name, how the brand, everything, how that entire thing came around was just, it wasn't like, people say to me sometimes like, well, you chose to do this, and it wasn't even my choice, mate. It was nuts synchronicities that were just happening. Things were just coming into place. I literally just almost, I had the blinkers taken off me with that experience, and almost like taken off this blinded path, ignorant path, and was just sort of kicked onto this route, which was to do with spirituality, to do with love, and to do with cannabis. And my belief is the two things, love and cannabis, are intrinsically linked. Like it will make you. I saw an actual fucking article in the mainstream media the other day about cannabis makes you a nicer person. They've done this study over 10 years and shown that it makes you more empathetic, more compassionate, just a general nicer person that cares about its society and all this sort of stuff. And I genuinely do believe that. You use it every single day. Like, I mean, I've got nothing to go on because I smoked it from like 13, like habitually, and then when I got to say, I'm 39, so when I got to about 32 is when I really found edibles and oils, and then started, you know, extracting it and all that sort of stuff. But like, I've used it all my life, and I found that like I might have been like that anyway, but I'm particularly sensitive, I would say, to fairness and justice, and like being sort of quite like empathy, emotional, I'd like to say, in a good way, in the fact that I care, I'm passionate. Whether or not that I believe it is, you know what I'm saying? And even what you're saying to me about the way I look, man, like realistically, people often say to me, man, you must be living good. And I'm like, I'm not one to really like preach, man, because like, you know, I've always tried to keep fit as much as I can. But again, my diet hasn't always been the best. I don't have it. I like to think I'm getting better, but it's a mad one that people. Yeah,
it's hard, man. It's hard though. With the diet thing, it's hard because it's not like everything's readily available. Do you know what I mean? It's like, for you to get the stuff you really want, you gotta go certain places to get it. And even then,
I don't even trust anything though. I don't trust the veg from the supermarket. Do you know what I mean? I don't trust. I don't trust anything
like that. Yeah.
So it's just, unless you're growing it. Like, my brother has got an actual proper big veg patch.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
He's proper on it and doing all his own veg. And the mad thing is, mate, is like, you can just get these potatoes that he's growing, and these things just taste better than any potato you'll get. I don't care where it comes from, man. There's something about it, growing it super organic, natural like that.
Yeah, it's mad, man.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
It's mad.
But it's a tough one, man. But cannabis is, for me, is like, you know, people, I don't know, some people will get it. I mean, maybe if you're a spiritual person, then you might see it. People that aren't spiritual now, if they hear me talking about spirituality and cannabis being intrinsically linked and all this sort of stuff, like, you know, who knows? But I've got to be honest.
But see what you're saying though. But see how you're saying that. I think that's part of the problem here. Is like, we've got that people. As soon as you talk about spirituality, there are a bunch of people like,
just instantly turned off by it.
This is, they think you're talking about
so many things.
Well, the thing is, because they think you're talking about religion.
Yeah, I know, it's completely
That's the flip.
different.
You know what I mean? That's the next flip, where they're like, all right, let's give them religion then, because these people, they think there's something higher than us, than man. Do you know what I mean? And so let's give them religion, and they think that's spirituality, but it isn't. It's religion. It's just bringing people together again. That's all it is. It's not really. Do you know what I mean?
I'm one of them where I think that there's truth in everything, really, but the same way everything can be used the negative side. So there's definitely some elements of truth
some
in
dual tones.
Definitely in some ways, but at the same time, like I'm one of them where I came from an era of like, you know, people often talk about like, oh, but it's either do you believe in aliens or do you believe in a god or what? And I'm like, what if God is the aliens? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, why does it have to be so different? Like religion, people go, well, do you believe in aliens? They'd be like, yeah, I believe in aliens. You're like, what about like God? Like, no, I don't believe in any of that sort of stuff. And you're like, well, the idea of a god might potentially be an advanced race.
Well, what is an alien? Like, think about the definition of an alien.
That's just a race of person that came from not from this earth. You know, so if you look at us, we're probably not from this earth. If you look at definitely either been messed about with, or we don't sit comfortably on this place, do we? We don't really live at one with it.
I mean, go and tell that to like, you know, some tribe that have been there for like eons. And still living good.
The indigenous people 100% do.
You know what I mean?
I'm talking about in general. I'm really talking about the white man. To be honest with you, that's where I get like I'm white, so I can, I suppose, like, you know, it is what it is to me. But if you look at the white race in general, show me a white indigenous person. Is there any white indigenous people?
I would have thought like, you know, in Europe somewhere maybe. I think I don't know,
like the pilgrims, because even if you go up to like the north, like into the Arctic, you still like the what are they called? Yeah, the Inuits. They're not white, are they? You can go from the top to north to south, and like the original people were never white, and obviously apparently we come from, you know, we're just an extension, as it were, of those indigenous people, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
My view is if you look at the white man in general, like we do struggle to live at one. We tend to be a bit, there's a mad little, I know people might say it's not a white thing, who knows? I'm only looking at it from the perspective of myself.
From your point of view,
history.
I mean,
that's my point of view.
You're fair to your opinion, man, like at the end of the day. And that's like you said, but we don't know, and it's just like all we can do is kind of have a view on, ask questions and have a view on the information that we're given. And then the other thing is like the perception of the information that we're given. So it is I mean, you asking that is like, well, I've never even really thought about that. But when you think about it, it's like how, and then history has been so muddled up, like, how we understand things, where, you know, we don't even think about, like, wonder about the language that we speak, even where that came from and how it came about. But once you start,
all the different languages, you know.
Yeah. How many different languages have been like reformed and changed? And
we didn't just come up with this stuff. Maybe it was given to us, like, again, the mathematics, the languages, the, you know, certain things that were maybe given to us. Like I'm a big fan of Graham Hancock, and you know, there's
Graham Hancock. Oh,
yeah. So done like Fingerprints of the Gods. He's he's a guy who loves his psychedelics as well, but he loves like exploring like really like the origins of civilization, and the fact that if you go back, I think it's about 50,000 years ago, there was some mad jump in the intelligence of the human beings on this planet at the time. We went from like almost like cave dwelling primitive man to all of a sudden we were in advanced civilization, like, and it was so quick. It couldn't have just happened through evolution. He says, I think his view is that either it came from or a mix of both of psychedelics and from outside sort of help or interference, you know, in terms of Anunnaki and the, you know, the story of the sort of the beings that came and maybe gave us certain things to try and guide us or help us. You know the theory, man. You know, a lot of people are aware of the theory of it. Again, I don't know, who knows, but my view is that I think you'll probably find that, like, it's even with religion, man. You can go. Over the years, I'm not afraid to say talk and sit with a Christian pastor, or, you know, a head of a church, or even, you know, a really devout Muslim, and just sit and just get their views on stuff. And it was interesting. I used to talk to a guy who was like a born again Christian and well into his hip hop actually, and we would sit and have a smoke and whatever. And then when I'd be talking about some mad stuff about aliens and Anunnaki and all this sort of stuff, he would be getting out the Bible though, and linking, saying about the Elohim, not the Elohim, what they called, they were like the fallen angels that
The
were
Nephilim.
that were sent here to give us sort of guidance, and then sort of, you know what I mean, basically maybe bread.
The fallen angels, the Nephilim.
The Nephilim, that's the ones, the Nephilim, yeah. So it's all sort of, I think there's truth and elements, but it's like you said earlier, it's all just been muddled up to the point where no one can actually get a hold.
Yeah, we don't know, man.
Really.
We weren't, you know, that's how I feel. It's like the bottom line is like, I wasn't there, so I don't know.
No.
Do you know what I mean? All I can do is believe. Yeah. I can think. I can
have a think.
You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know, and I want to know. I don't want to believe. I don't want, like, you know what I mean? I want to know, and it's hard to do them things when you're looking at bits of it, like you're saying.
That links maybe to psychedelics, because genuinely, I think some things I don't think you're meant to know.
Yeah,
you know,
same.
I certainly, from my experience, I had some, you know, I genuinely, while I was there, had some clarity on a whole heap of stuff. And then when I came back, it just flitted away from me, like almost like I wasn't meant to have it in this reality. Certain things I don't think we're meant to have the physical experience and live in this mystery, mad, suffering world of like 3D physical reality, and the you know, the experience of pain and feeling the five senses and all of that. You know, like I feel that there's a quite a worthwhile experience to be had from this place. And I don't really think
there is a lot to be had, man. I think like it's tricky for some people because obviously it feels like there's a lot of pressure, but when you step away, you step back a bit, and you know, like we're talking about, cannabinoids can do that for you. That can help you simmer down and really look at things how you're supposed to. You know what I mean? Just level out. Or you can step it further and go into psychedelics, whether it be psilocybin, you know, mushrooms and whatnot, or ayahuasca and all that, you know.
DMT.
But like you're saying, with the salvia, you had that. That was an amazing story, by the way. Like, you know, and like to have that, all those premonitions, all like seeing all of that come to fruition and happen.
I can never see life the same again.
You know
that's what it's given me.
You know that there's a higher force out there that there are plans out there. It ain't like, yo, this has happened, this, you know, it happens for your life exactly how you, but the steps to get there, you know, are laid out for you. And if you take them steps, then you'll get there. Do you know what I mean? And you obviously did that.
I have to believe it's a bit of a bizarre one in the fact that I believe it's like a contradiction in itself that your life has already happened. Yeah, it has already happened. But in the moment right now that you're experiencing this, in this body that you're in this moment that we live right now, you in this moment have the choice to do anything. I can unplug this laptop now and just make the screen go black.
Free will.
You know, you could do anything. You have the choice to do anything, but you're not going to do anything. You're actually going to make the decision which you were always going to make. But you don't know what that decision was. So in the moment right now, I have free will. But in the reality, you never had free will because you were always going to make those decisions. You just didn't know it. And that's almost like the beauty of life, is that in the moment now, you do have free will because you can choose to do anything. But the reality is you're not going to do anything, and you're always going to do the things that you're going to do. It's a mad one.
That's interesting in
itself, because I saw so many things that had already happened. That's the one thing that I ended up like really spinning me out from that experience, because I started to ask the question almost like, so if everything's already happened, like, well, what's the point then? You might as well just sit and do nothing because if it's already happened. I go, no, you're not going to do that though. And if you were going to do that, you were always going to do that and sit. I'm not the type of person who would just sit and do nothing no matter what. So I'm going to get on and do what I'm going to do regardless. And it's like, if you're the type of person that's going to sit there and just do nothing, you're going to do that anyway. Like, it's a strange one. Like, it was a hard one for me to try and get my head around, to think, well, now stuff's happening at exactly the same moments. If that stuff, like the mad thing it was, even with that guy in Amsterdam that said those words to me, I wasn't even going to go to Amsterdam because my missus was like pregnant with my son. We hardly had any money at the time. I said, I wasn't in the best place at that time in terms of my career and that. And I wasn't even going to go to Amsterdam. And it was only last minute, my brother's best pal rang me up and was like, mate, what do you mean you ain't coming? I was like, no, I can't, I ain't got the cash. He's like, look, I'll just pay and you just come. Like, just pay me back whenever. I weren't even ever going to go to Amsterdam. But the reality was, I was always going to go to Amsterdam, and that guy was always going to come out of there and he was going to say those words to me in the way that he said them. It was like, you know, it's a really trippy one to try and get your head around, the idea of time and about whether it is already mapped out, or whether it is, like I say, all undecided, and you're just.
So this is what, shout to you more. She said multiple realities though. A timeline exists with every single decision that you never made in this reality.
Yeah.
So it is like that, innit? It's like you ended up taking the path that led you to those things happening. And the other thing is, those things could have still happened just at another time.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it is like, it's quite amazing, man. That's an amazing
anything
story,
is possible. Bro. Yeah, it's like, it was always going to happen, but anything could have happened. It's bizarre. Life is a contradiction in itself, mate. I'm telling you. It's like, if you try and understand it on like a logical level, it's just not going to work with us. It's not.
Yeah, well, yeah. And this is the thing, isn't it? Like, obviously, logic works in this world that they've built up for us, this matrix that they've built up.
Science world,
this,
it might work.
But then intuition is what works in, the other realm, like the spiritual realm that, that we've been touching on it, skimming the edges, you know what I mean? The spiritual thing. But I think it's quite important because it's never spoken about it within really any, do you know what I mean? Unless you're of some kind of religion that's meant to be of that. And I'm not saying that religion isn't spiritual, but I'm just saying like there's
control,
what happened before, what happened before there was that word, what happened before people did that, brought religion, like what happened, when were there already a legion? When were already big?
That's what I want to know.
You know what I mean? When were people already together? And like, I think that side of it is like, once people understand like, oh, there's a reason why I feel this way whenever I hear people talk like that. There's a reason. Yeah, there is that side of it, which is all messed up. You know what I mean? Like what I'm talking about.
But isn't that not just to turn people away from it? Almost? That's how it's being used.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. The flip, where they just make you think like,
My advice would just be like, anybody that wants like to know more about it, like, you don't need a book, because I always say like the book was written by man. It's not people say, oh, it's God's word, but it wasn't. It was God's word translated through a load of different men and like human beings, as it were. Like, I don't need the book to tell me the basic morals that we sort of all should have an innate knowledge of anyway. We all know what's right and wrong, whether or not we choose to take the right decision or not. We sort of know what's right or wrong. I just feel like, for me, I don't need a religion or a church to go to have a relationship with God. Or if you like to say that word provides connotation to this, like whatever it is, the higher power, the unseen force. Yeah,
because it depends which God you mean.
Definitely a play in this reality. Like, I've seen it with my own eyes. There is definitely an unseen force, and it seems to revolve around. There's obviously the yin and yang in terms of demonic and the sort of the darker element of spirituality, like that sort of stuff, that people conjuring up fucking dark things, and what certain industries are like, with people using and doing
bubble toilet trouble.
Well, listen, man, like you look into these people and like, black magic, juju, Kabbalah, this stuff's being used for a long time for sort of negative purposes. And it's almost like we often don't want to ask the positive side of that for help. We almost feel like, it's a weird one. Yet there's certain people that are trying to utilize the other side of it for their own purposes, and that's happening. And they believe fully in this stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's what around the time when I did Salvia, I sort of, started to understand that, hang on a minute, a lot of these people, atheism, as it were, seemed to be like the main sort of thing when I was growing up. Like, religion was like, oh, fuck all that sort of shit. But then at the same time, these same people that were sort of pushing that behind the scenes, they were sort of worshipping some weird dark thing that I'm like, hang on a minute, if they're into this and they're really believing in that, maybe I actually should start to believe in some, positive love, goodness. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe. And
positive love, goodness.
Well, this is mate. I do have this thing where I believe in God. I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, it's not an issue for me. Like,
you shouldn't feel ashamed to say that, man.
I have a full belief.
Billions of people out there who say that.
Yeah, but like, I'm just trying to sort of translate it to people that just are immediately turned off by that word. It's like,
well, what they should ask, they shouldn't be turned off. They should ask, like, who is God? Like, which God do you mean?
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of different gods out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Worldwide. So it just, that's what and everybody has that, you know. There's something they believe in, whether they know it or not. Whether it be money, whether it be, you know what I mean, like a lifestyle. There's something that they, you know, find some sort of upliftment from. That's like, you know, that's praised as, you know, like a deity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, you know, difficult to know. I know God in the fact that I felt that 100%. There's not even a debate to me that the communication I got through that person was a higher power that was communicating with me. I believe that. I don't know, you know, I'm not trying to claim, you know, it just happened and that's just what happened. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. So I have it's not even a belief in God. Like I know God, I know that shit's real. I know there's more to this life and death isn't the end. I know that. I've seen it from my own eyes. Do you know what I mean? So that in itself is not a thing about like, you know, people say, it's just like you want to you're so afraid of death that you want to give yourself some way of dealing. That ain't that at all. I was sweet. I didn't even have a thing. I wasn't even like I was trying to look for anything. Like that whole experience came out of nowhere to me.
I honestly think once you get that upliftment, you're not afraid of death. You understand that it's part of life. And
like life changes. Life changes. The way you see life just really, really changes now. Like I feel like it's like I feel so blessed and grateful for what has happened in it, or what I know and what I've seen with my own eyes. Like for one, I wouldn't swap that experience I had for any experience or any human. When people say, I wish I could be him or do that, I wouldn't swap my life right now because of what I've seen for any life. Like it's as simple as that. Like it's like so I know that experience is like such a blessing. I'm so grateful that experience happened, but it's given me like a real easiness that even like things that are bad, for example, death and bereavement, which a lot of people, again, you know, you talk about spirituality, most people can't talk about that. Try and have a conversation about that stuff with people, about death, and people really don't like it. They don't even like to think about it at all.
But and it's actually part of our life. It's like
it is just part of it, and it's not like I say, it's not the end. That's what people are so afraid of.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to get to. It's like you know, they've literally got everyone afraid of the one thing that's inevitable. That's gonna, you know, inevitable to happen.
Yeah, it's what you're here to do. You're born to die, man. It's the, you know, it's the one.
No, you're born to live. You're born to live, but
but you're dying from the beginning. You know, your body's, you know, pretty much. You know, you spend about what 15 years, your body's in pretty good shape, and then from that moment on, 18 years, and then it starts to stop, and then it starts to deteriorate. Like, you know, so what I'm saying is trying to say it's suffering.
Think about a tree. A tree planted, it grows, right? And what does it do? It produces more seeds.
Yeah, exactly.
In order to plant, and so it's like that's what we're here doing.
Of course.
We grow, you know what I mean? So that's the part of living. That's the part where we're meant to be
passing
living.
On that.
Unfortunately, we're not really living.
Not quite how we should.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
You know what I mean? That's a whole other podcast, but we're not really living. You know what I mean? So it does feel like that, but you know what I mean? I think like it's important for people to tap into that side of things, like the spiritual side a bit more. Even now, like if people have woken up a bit more, do you know what I mean, over the last couple of years, it's like now you kind of realize, there's even with that, there's a whole infiltration of madness just to keep you away from what it really is. And that's like the three levels, isn't it? The mind, body, and the spirit. Keep all them three homeostasis, however you pronounce it. Homeostasis. Then you got that balance, man. You got that key. And I think, I think people shouldn't be afraid to talk about it. Shouldn't be, you know, they're not afraid to talk about mental health. People aren't afraid, you know what I mean? Back in the day, man was scared to talk about that shit. Like, I'm paranoid. I'm like, no, just let me smoke a zoot, man. I'll sort it out. Drink 2 Guinness. I'll be good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now it's all out there everywhere. Man, bruv, man, just like, I'm just seeing a therapist still. Like, Nah, I'm still shotting though. Like, man, still got the thing.
You're not for it's got a bit much. They've gone one extreme to another.
It's like, bruv. So, you know, people should start tapping in. I think there's a connection there. Even personally, I think there's a connection there because of what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and spirit. People say when you go and work out, you know, when you go and eat better food, then you feel a bit better. Yeah, I feel a bit better. You know, I haven't been feeling as bad as before. Like my back ain't hurting as bad. You know what I mean? Now tap into that third element, the spiritual level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think just for anybody to open their eyes that potentially psychedelics are just sometimes a quick way to really just make you realise there's more to this place than meets the eye. You know what I mean? If no one's had a psychedelic experience, it's very difficult because all you've ever seen is just standard reality, and you just think it just does its thing. And you sort of sometimes need to see those other things to really realise, like, wow, actually, what is this place? What is this thing I'm looking at in front of me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's levels to it, boy. People, you know.
I'd say a lot that started off with this thing on me talking about mushrooms. It just so noticed, something I've noticed a lot in the last couple of months is people on Facebook and people around me are like, "Oh right, you got mushrooms?" They're like, "Yeah, I'm microdosing now. Oh, so and so's doing it," and I'm seeing them post up about it, and I'm like, "Okay." In my mind, I'm seeing these people do it. That I'm thinking this is a positive thing. I think.
Well, this will look. See, Don Smith had said, "I don't believe this is it." Through past experiences, however. I'm one of them that runs a mile from Abrahamic religions and the Bible, Qurans, Torahs and all that. And that's what I'm saying is like, I feel like there's a reason why we're like that. You know what I mean? Like I went to a Roman, I brought up Roman Catholic. Yeah. So there's, you know, it should be like, I go to church and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I realize now there was something touching my spirit like, I don't know about this. And then I ended up going to school that was mixed with bare different, it was like Hindus, Jews, Christians, you know, mixed up, and I was like, wow, but which one is right then? Which one is, you know? And then you start
the thing I don't like.
Learning more as you got, you know, we've got older now, and information is a lot more wider spread, and you get to learn like, oh wow, there's a lot more to this than you ever even thought, and this is why it's like this, and that's why your spirit's touching you in that way. Like, I'm not sure, but I do believe there's God. I do believe there's a God. Like a most high, like you know, a higher divine being that divine that created all of this that we can't even explain. We just have to make up shit to try and explain it.
Of course, because we haven't got the ability.
Like, we don't actually know how that seed really grows. Like we can't. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think we can handle it, mate.
We know that if we put it in this and then put water, you know, blah blah blah, it will grow in that, and then we've got to try our best to help it to grow. But otherwise, that shit will grow naturally in the wild on its own with no one helping it.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on, that's for sure. Like the religion side of things is, I'm exactly a bit like you in what you're saying there, and the fact that when I really started to believe in something, and then like you say, you look at all the different typical religions, and obviously Christianity, Islam, all the different, like looking at all of them. But my big thing was that I always had this really overriding voice in me telling me to not commit to any of it and to sort of stay above all of it, because I sort of felt the minute I go into one, I'm pigeonholing myself into just that view. Almost you can't then, you know, I've seen Christians talking about Muslims and Muslims talking about, and there's this thing about, we're right, they ain't right because they don't. And it's this division thing again. Like that to me isn't what spirituality can ever be about to me. Like it just is a difficult one for me. I couldn't commit to something and then go, right, now I'm committing to this. And this is right. And because there's contradicting views, they're all wrong. And I don't even want to hear about any of their stuff because it's wrong. And I'm blinkered now and I'm just focusing on this gospel Bible and I'm reading that. I can't be dealing with any of that. And I'm just going to my church and I'm going to listen to what my reverend tells me. And like, man, I just feel like I don't need any of that. I feel like God's going to talk to me in terms of showing me through, you know, he sends people into your life. He'll send like all of the things that can happen in your life. There can be signs, symbols, there can be spiritual things happening in front of us all the time. We don't need to try and go there and find this. I'm trying to find something in this book and trying to live my life in a certain way based on what this book's telling me. It doesn't matter what book it is.
That's it, because you're told to. You're told to. And you think, other people, I see, other people are doing it. So, and you know, it becomes what do they call it? A general consensus. Like everyone believes in it. So now, you know, and the root word, like believe, roots back to love. Yeah. Beloved. So you love whatever it is that much. You know what I mean? You don't even know if it's real. You don't know if this guy, you know, look at all these gurus, these fake ass gurus and that, and they have their retreats and
false prophets, many of them. Like
they just prey on people that are searching though.
Vulnerable people. This is what these religions do, mate. I've seen it. one of my best friends, like my wife's best friend. She was lost soul. She was like neglected by her mum. That's real trouble growing up, and like she was not in a good way. She was like right into raving and just getting smashed and all of that. And man, she got found by a church in Medway, and they found her. And the next thing you know, like I was busy sort of with my missus having kids, and we were sort of living our life. And the next thing I know, before we knew it, she was proper in this church. And before we knew it, you couldn't talk to her about anything that wasn't the Bible. Whereas I could talk to her about anything before. We were talking on all sorts of topics, and all of a sudden she just became really closed off, like that anything that wasn't to do with this was not God, and it was basically everyone. It just changed. So we don't even speak to her anymore, because she's just been taken by these people. And the fucked up thing about it is that like the truth became clear to me. I knew they weren't right. I had this feeling when I went there once that all of them, these people, were just not right at all. And then I ended up seeing, there used to be a guy called Jack Jones. Do you remember on the internet? He used to do like prank videos. He went viral about 10 years ago. And he did this
Jack
prank video.
Jones sounds familiar. Yeah. I feel like
he could go around like saying stupid shit to people, and they'd want to like fucking run after him or like. But the worst one I ever saw was at the end of this video, and my mate had just been baptized at this point, by this guy, and I didn't know this guy's come across all like this really gentle guy. He's a massive guy, but he come across all gentle. And then in this video, Jack Jones comes across him in the street in Medway, which is not far from where we are. And he says to him something about, do you want to see my balls? And this guy's like, you what? What you see? He's like, yeah, you want to see my balls? He's actually got such snooker balls or something in his pocket. And before this guy even gives him a chance, he just sort of grins at him and then just smashes him in the face. And then just the camera just cuts off. And this is a pastor, ahead of a church in Medway, that's all of a sudden attacked this guy. When I actually emailed that Jack Jones and said, mate, like, I didn't even know I was getting anything from him. I actually emailed him and said, man, that guy that punched you at the end, what happened there? He actually come back to me saying, mate, out of all of the videos I've ever done, I will never, ever go back to Medway. That guy chased me out of the town threatening to kill me and saying he was going to do all of this. And this is like a pastor of a church that my friend had just been baptized by, which I'd already had bad feelings about these people. And now she's in that shit, mate. She gives something stupid, like a third of her wages she gives to this church. You know what I mean? She's talking about, they're doing healings there, and you should see it, they're getting people to walk again. And I'm saying, great, get him in the hospital. Get him down the hospital. There's loads of people in the hospital that need healing if he's going to do that. Not like just these vulnerable people in the church that have been mentally fucking manipulated, and it's awful, mate.
Yeah. Oh man, that just makes you wonder as well.
That's the opposite of God.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. That's the opposite of being. And the thing about when I'm talking about spirituality, I don't mean like you have to like sit there and you know what I mean? You can just sit there for 10 minutes and just breathe in the silence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just do nothing.
Yeah.
And just like clear your mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With yoga, all of these things, working out, what's really happening that's helping you out is you're
clearing your mind.
Yeah, you're getting oxygen in. Yeah. You know what I mean? Getting all the toxins out. Breathing is also how you can detox. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's important for people. That's why a lot of like singers, rappers and whatnot, not saying, apart from the ones that obviously have done themselves up in a way, you know what I mean? Kind of stay quite young looking because they do a lot of, you know what I mean? There's a lot of breathing involved and a lot of exerting.
Yeah, meditative exercises. A lot of people meditating without even realising they're meditating. That's
man.
Even just sitting in quiet and just gently, like you say, breathing right and just sitting with peace and quiet is... That's probably one of my favourite things in the world.
Getting that Zen moment. Yeah, because you need it, man. Life's hectic.
Thoughts, Just quiet, calm. And that's mad. I've had people before, right, that when they started taking the oil, they've been really, really like, they feel really strange. They ring me up and go, I feel really, they look like on edge. And I'm saying, what's up? I've taken this oil. And I don't know. It's like, I haven't got any thoughts. And I'm like, right? What's wrong with that? And they're like, I don't know, it's really strange. I have so much stuff going on in my head that all of a sudden I'm sitting there and there's no thought in my head and it's making me feel really weird. And I'm like, wow, man, that goes to show you. I just take it for granted sitting there sometimes and having nothing in my head for 10 minutes. It's so important just to allow yourself to just to breathe and just to... And it's like, a lot of people have obviously got stuff going on in their head so often that if they get to a point where they're actually got empty thoughts, which is in essence just a meditative state, they really feel uncomfortable with that. It's mad, crazy.
Yeah, man. That's it. Don Smith has said it. An appreciation and to be in nature is the most spiritual thing a human can do. I believe. And I believe that too, man. People don't understand. I was telling Reds today, go out, you can get yourself grounded, man. Go out, take your shoes off, just walk around on the grass, man. You know what I mean? I was showing a couple of them lot on the tour. Shout out to Gav. When we were in, where did we do? Oh, when we were in O2, we did the O2 with the orchestra stuff. And we did the sound check and whatnot, and then went and got something to eat. And then there's a little park there. So bam, bro, right, we're out here with the Frisbee. I was like, yeah, let me take off my shoes, take off my socks, bam, get grounded. He was like, huh? And then he did it as well. And he's like, oh. And I told him about it, the fact that it kind of, as us being electrical beings, it kind of helps to like earth yourself, to like ground, get rid of some of that shit. Also, you might be absorbing some nutrients from the soil. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Who knows? Exactly that. Yeah.
But so it's good to be out in nature even furthermore. You don't just have to like, you don't necessarily have to be taking your shoes off like your neighbour's flower pot.
I went to Wales last weekend and we climbed a couple of mountains.
See it there?
The reason I do that is not for like necessarily the challenge of climbing a mountain. It's like when I first did it, up until a couple of years ago, I hadn't done it. And again, I'm going to link it back to oil because, mate, I took oil climbing Snowdon the first time I ever did it. And, mate, I had an actual spiritual experience on the side of that mountain to the point where I'm not ashamed to say this. I was like, it was an overwhelming feeling, but a really beautiful feeling at how much I was with nature on the side of this mountain. And it actually had tears coming down my face. It was a beautiful moment. It was, and that from that moment, I've just been hooked. If anyone says to me now, I'm climbing a mountain, do you fancy come? Mate, I'm there. I'm on it. I love it. I absolutely love it. There's something, it's one almost of my favorite places in the world to be. Is not just climbing. It's not like about getting to the top and mate, I've climbed the mountain. It's not about that. Most of the time, it's halfway up, and I'm just sort of looking off it and just seeing the landscape. And man, that's like
it's like the beauty of what's here already, what's been made already.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's grounding. Imagine you're up that high. Yeah, you're up that high, but you're getting grounding. Don't think of it. People think of it as like, oh, what? So you gotta like plug yourself into the. Nah, it's like be out in nature.
Just mate, getting your shoes and socks off and walking through the rivers and stuff, like going into a lake. Like even when we went
on the
a couple
beach,
of years ago,
even when you get on the beach, man, that's grounding.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Even just out in your garden on your lawn, mate, take your shoes and socks off and just have a walk. Like you say, but the amount of times when during the summertime when I'll have my shoes and socks off outside a lot more, I definitely feel the difference, mate, in myself. But then again, I love this time of year anyway. I just get excited.
IBMC's
decent and quite warm.
IBMC's is like you eat soil. So I guess he's talking to me. Hey, he's not lying though. We do eat soil because.
Do you?
Well, yeah, because the plants come from the soil.
Oh right, I thought you said he was eating
soil. No, he's just saying like getting grounded. Wow. He's like to get grounded, you eat soil.
Wow, it's the first I've heard of it.
Well, we do kind of eat soil, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just from everything that we're eating, it comes from the soil, definitely. Yeah,
there's some form of alchemy that turns the soil into fruit or veg.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And they used to say that about the sun, right? Like the sun obviously is what helps the grapes grow. Huh?
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, like the food grow because of the sun, but it's like you're eating the power of the sun. You know what I mean?
Converting it into different energy. Yeah.
Converting that shit, boy.
Fascinating.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, I love this shit. But yeah, let's get back on this cannabinoids, right? We got a question from your more. Let me get this up because I do remember she hit us up with a question. Oh yeah, that's it. So she's asking, what's the average daily maintenance dosage for people with low endocannabinoid tone conditions?
Say that last bit again. Low
endocannabinoid tone conditions.
So is she saying that like people that are maybe like sensitive to it?
I'm guessing so, yeah.
Or like starting on it or not used it? Yeah, I would.
She's in the chat room, so hopefully she can elaborate.
Maybe, just just sort of clarify, like if you're,
I'm guessing she's asking like, what would you say was a safe, in terms of average daily maintenance dosage? So like daily
for
maintenance.
For most people, say like if someone's got like a serious condition and they're taking oil for cancer or something, like the recommendation is take as much as you can physically take, or as much as you can get in you, or as much as you can afford, or whatever just get as much of it in you as you can. But obviously you have to build up your tolerance, because not many people can consume anywhere near, say, a gram of oil a day. That will take like a period of time, but every human being will very quickly adapt and get a tolerance to it. But my advice to anyone starting on using the oil that's got THC in, it's psychoactive, just start as small as possible. Even if you take a tiny amount and it doesn't do anything to you, I'd rather you do that than you take too much and you feel like it's too much for you. Just start very small, and each day you just build it up, just like incrementally each day, and just go from there. It's the only way to do it, really, because everybody's so different. Like the other day when we went to Wales, like there's a few of my pals who are like, they've had oil before, or they sort of pretty comfortable with it. I gave them 100 milligrams of THC oil. And that for that's a nice amount. Like if I want to get really high, I'll take like 200 milligram. But even for me, if I take 100 milligram, that'll still give me a nice buzz. And so I gave him all 100 milligram, and one of the guys I gave 30 milligram because he weren't so sure. And it was him the one ended up feeling really intensely, like almost a bit uncomfortable with it, and wasn't enjoying it. And he was the one that had like 30% of what everybody else had, which that in itself was doing his head in. He was like, how much have I had? Like, fucked, and like, how are you lot not like really feeling this? And it's like, so even with him, when I gave it to him, I was like, oh, don't worry, mate, I've got the dosage right for you. I'm just going to give you a small amount and you can ease yourself in. And even that, I've got it wrong. So that's why I always just say to anybody that's unsure, just start really small. Like even people say like a grain of rice, I'd say even less than that. Just go to the tiniest bit, and just start.
I'll start like a grain of rice.
Yeah, if that's what they say, but even that, I'd say start with half a grain of rice, the tiniest amount you can take. Just put it in, wait an hour, see what happens. If like you don't feel anything like on the first time of taking it, then the next time just take a little bit more.
Jesus,
but yeah, the last things, some people, it's not a good idea to take a big amount, because then you're just it's gonna feel uncomfortable, and people are a little bit put off by it. Particularly like I have people that have got cancer that have never used any cannabis before in their life, and with them you've got to really sort of gently ease them into it. So it's different from everybody. I've even had people that are like, they go, yeah, I'll smoke to my life, like I'll be fine, mate, just give us what you normally have. And I'm like, yeah, it is different though to smoking. It's not really like anything you've smoked before. Like, I'll be fine, and then you give them that and they're absolutely off their nut. And
people, that's the one thing I think people got to realize is once you eat it as well, that's it. Like smoking it, you can go like, oh yeah, I think I've had enough.
You'll be right in a bit.
Yeah, you'll be all right in a bit, but eating it, that's a whole nother. You're all right, you're asking for trouble now, bruv.
Yeah, you better know. That's why I say go conservatively, man. Just go conservatively.
Are there ways? I got to do this with the mic. I don't know if you noticed that, but the mic dropped.
You're feeling about. You're holding it.
Yeah, I've got to hold it because the mic's dropped, and I think it's to do with the clamp, but I'm not sure exactly what's wrong with the clamp, and that might take a minute.
Well,
so yeah, I'm gonna do this like
in control, mate.
Elvis Presley.
For a while. You're doing
what I mean?
right.
I'm gonna do this Elvis Presley style. But yeah, what was I saying? It was something to do with the.
We were talking about dose when we.
Yeah, like obviously getting carried away. You know what I mean? How would people? How would people be able to kind of get out of that madness that they're in? Then, like I remember going to coffee shops in Amsterdam, and when people were on the whitey, they'd bring out like, I think it's glucose or whatever, right?
Yeah. Something sugary like that. Because that's all it is. When you do a whitey, that's just your blood sugar levels have dropped. So that's the reason why you get white. You got no blood to your head, and you end up feeling dizzy or sick or all that. So if you get your blood sugars up, like my recommendation would be just whatever you can get your hands on, whether that's even just orange juice or even a fizzy drink, just in the moment, mate. Just like it will just something quick, some sugar that can get into you and get that. Also CBD, definitely, mate. That is no doubt about that. That definitely, if you take CBD, it will definitely counteract the sort of intense feeling to THC sometimes. So if you're taking CBD whilst taking THC as
Balance
well,
it
will just give you much more of a sort of a calmer, less intense high.
Yeah, it kind of balances it out, innit?
Yeah, sort of. It takes away that little anxiety feeling that people can get from high THC dosing sometimes. You know, when you take high amounts of THC, there can be that little skittish sort of buzz that comes with it, particularly if it's like a sativa-y sort of vibe.
Yeah. You know where that is, man. That's where people are like, yo, I need to go sit down, man. You know, start sweating and shit.
Yeah, some people it's like they got to, it's mad. Some oils can give you loads of thoughts, and other oils can like give you no thoughts. Some people, when they got loads of stuff going on and they feel a bit buzzy and a bit skittish, like that can sort of it's but that's the other thing I'd say to people is if you're gonna take oil, then the big thing is just make sure it's like anything in life, is just make sure you source good product in the first place. You know, if you can, know where it's coming from, how it's grown, you know, what the strain is, making sure there's not too much crap that's going into it. You know, that's the big thing when you're going to take any oil, really, because it's all good saying it's amazing, but if you're in essence extracting other compounds that you don't want in there into the oil, then they themselves can start, you know, giving you sort of negative side effects that go with it. So yeah, make sure your flour's clean, organic. You know, people aren't chucking in all that sort of PGRs and all these different growth hormone and regulators that they're sort of using these days, which is not really the way forward. Seeing that a lot.
Yeah, that's a whole nother madness, man. But speaking on getting your quality material, and especially in terms of CBD, make sure you hit up Sam's shop on Cannasseursuk.com, mother lovers.
We got that code right though.
We got the code right now. I wanted to make
sure that I'd actually spelled it right, but I'm sure it's correct.
No, you got it, man. Simna. Yeah. You know what I mean? Make sure you type in any of your orders. Big respect for doing this as well, Sam. 20% off if you hit the discount code SYMNNKNA for a bunch. And we got a whole bunch of products like on this website. You can see Cannasseursuk.com, mother lovers. You got from natural CBD balms to CBD sprays. You got Belgian chocolate, dark, milk. You got, so you can pick like sativa spray, or you can pick indica.
Or the full spectrum.
The full spectrum. You know what I mean? And these hit you on different levels. Obviously, it's for you to try to see what works for you. Yeah,
and it depends what you're looking to use it for, obviously, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? So if it's just a supplement and there's not really anything you're noticing wrong with you, if you want to use it to boost you on a nutritional sort of level and get the benefits, and not always probably say the full spectrum, because I say that's just the mixture of the two CBD whole plant extracts we have. So like under the lab test, it's got like by far the most varied amount of cannabinoids running through that oil, which, like I say, that has over the years always been our probably best seller, and also the one that gets the most sort of good feedback from, in terms of it's a mad one. Now, in the first place, it was like, well, I've got this indica extract we get, and this sativa extract, and people were saying that they're getting good effects from both, but like in different ways. But then I'm like, what happens if I just put these two together? We combine these amounts, and then what happens? And like I say, it has actually ended up being a really like a good thing that we've done. Again, it's like almost like I feel like that with anything cannabis based. If you can if you're like I say, if you're looking at it for a particular specific reason and you need it for a real specific reason, then sometimes you might need a specific extract that comes from, it's got a certain terpene profile that's going to give you a certain relief. But in general, if you're using it as a supplement, it's almost like getting as many different types of cannabinoid profiles as possible.
And so has it been mapped out yet as to what sort of ailments it can help? So, specifically when you're talking about
Well, the problem is you got with this is it's when I said earlier about the terpenes, which like the sort of flavor profile, the taste, the smell, the profile that come from it, they're like compounds in their own right. And I said there's up to like 20 to 30 combinations of those terpenes in each strain, and it really does seem that the each individual like therapeutic effect you might get from each one seems to be coming from the combination of terpenes. So like every combination of terpenes produces a slightly different effect within the body. Like it's like a slightly different key that unlocks a slightly different door. And it's like it's so complex that, you know, for me to say like it's so simplistic to just say indica and sativa. You know, it's all to do with the terpene profiles. And like your typical sativa and indicas are in general, they share the same type of terpene profiles, which is why you see the similar effects. But there are certain sativa plants that will give you like the effects of an indica. There are certain indica plants that will give you effects of a sativa, and people are like, well, that's weird because this is an indica. Why is that making me feel like, oh, like I'm on a sativa? Well, that's because the terpene profile in this particular indica is probably really similar to the other terpene profiles we find in sativas. So it's not the plant itself, it's the compounds within it that are then providing that therapeutic effect. Terpenes themselves are the next sort of big discovery in cannabis, is that they're going to be found to be. My only issue with it is I don't want people to start like, they'll start saying, right, well, this particular terpene is really good for this, and what we're going to do is we're going to extract this terpene from this, and we're just going to consume this terpene. I always just think you want all of the stuff, just consume it all, don't singulate it and take one out of it. You know, it's like just take it for the whole plant, as it were. But it's so complex. If you think there's like 15,000, probably way more than that, strains across the world. Every single one has a different cannabinoid or terpene profile, and every single one of them will have like a slightly different use or an effect within the body. So it will do various things generally, but it will also have like a particular sort of area it might go into based on that profile.
That's deep.
Like I say, we're so far behind with our understanding of what this stuff's doing in our body that, like I said to you earlier, I think in years to come, we'll look back with such an understanding that we'll look back to like conversations now and be like, oh, do you remember those times when it was like no one actually really, even me, you know what I mean? Like as much as you can only know as much as you can know now. Whereas like I say, the real discoveries are going to come when like, and it's not even the pharmaceuticals, it's almost like there needs to be just actual clinical studies done on all of these different things over a period of years. But we haven't got the freedom because it's such a controlled, you know, the classification of cannabis is still to the point where you can't really do any proper research on it. So yeah, like you say, it's just been suppressed for so long.
There you go, man. That's it. Yeah, exactly. There you go. When you're talking like that, it makes sense, man. And on that note, let me carry on with saying, make sure you hit up Cannasseursuk.com for all your CBD products, mother lovers. 20% off when you type in SYMNNKNA. Bitches and bitchettes. See, we're after the, what's it called? Watershed. We passed Watershed.
Real good. Now, way past Watershed. Real good.
Nah, man, we're here with Sam Gibbons, Cannasseursuk. Been chopping it up, man. Some shit you might not never know nothing about. Brother, it's been a lot of fun, man. Serious.
Yeah, man. It's been good.
What was I gonna ask? There was that was it. To do with I was listening to some guy who was saying that the fact that things have been crossed so much, you know, different strains and whatnot, you know, that's not actually a good thing, and it messes with people. Is there any truth to that?
Definitely not.
Because it's hybrid now, like, you know, hybridized, whatever.
So genetically modifying certain strains, is based on the people doing it. Like Monsanto, for example, have got involved in cannabis, right? So in producing strains and cannabis seeds. So for me personally, would I trust like what they're doing with genetically modifying cannabis? No, but that's something completely different to me just taking a strain and crossing it with another strain. You see what I'm saying? All that actually does, it doesn't produce any bad compounds. All it's producing is a slightly different combination of cannabinoids. That's really all it does.
And terpenes as well.
So that's why you'll cross two and it'll produce a whole new flavor. You're taking these 30 terpenes, you're taking those 30 terpenes, and when you breed them together, you like anything in life, when you breed reproduction, it might take 10 of those and it might take 20 from the other strain, and now it mixes those together to make a new 30. And now you get a new smell, you get a new therapeutic effect from it. You've still got the CBD and the cannabis and the THC and all the different bits and bobs in there. So like just cross breeding in itself, that's not a bad thing. That's like saying that human beings, you know, yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, inbreeding with human beings is not necessarily a good thing, but like breeding in itself is just taking a set of compounds, another set of compounds, mixing them together and coming up with a new set of compounds, which can potentially do new things, you know. And each time that they're crossing, it seems that they're taking on more. So you're getting more and more terpenes mixed together, which again, for me, can't be a bad thing. But yeah, that's like breeding and genetically modifying stuff are two very, very different things.
Yeah, I guess. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, no.
I guess and the other thing is it's not, you know, because what it reminded me of was the thing about hybridized foods, you know, like listening to people like Dr. Sabi and that they talked about, like how hybridized food, but it's like you're not eating it. So it may be a different thing if you're eating it. Maybe then, there might be something going on, but we're blazing.
No, because you would be, say if I was eating the oil, if I was then creating a new
that's true. I guess,
and then I'm pressing it and I'm making a new oil.
Good
that
point.
New oil,
but it's the oil would just have the it wouldn't be the actual, because it's the it
wouldn't have the plant in it. The plant would be gone, but that was just cellulose anyway. Like I said earlier, that green stuff is just cellulose, no matter what. Like that in all cannabis, the plant matter itself is cellulose. You don't really want that stuff. You want the compounds contained sitting on the trichromes, within the trichromes.
For real.
So yeah, but then again, like, you know, you've got, there are worrying things, but it's more to do with, say, I said genetically modifying, and then also like in terms of what you're putting into your plants. So what you're feeding your plants is going to have much more of a detrimental effect if you're putting bad things into your plants compared to crossing two strains of just natural cannabis. You know?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
There's no negative
that
behind the
PGR
crossing
business.
Strains. But in terms of what you're putting in it, then the reason why people are getting mad side effects and you know, crazy things from smoking it is because the chemicals that are still left in the plant, and the chemicals aren't from the plant, they're from the nutrients which people are putting into the plants to try and make them bigger and get whatever they're trying to do with it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's why I said to, you know, earlier on about just knowing exactly like where you're getting your stuff from and what people are doing with
it. Yeah, it's important, man.
Very important. If you can, not everybody's in that position. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, all they know is someone that they go and get it from, and you know, it's not, you're not really in a place to know where it's coming from. But yeah, if you can, and you've got the opportunity to, particularly like people that, you know, if you've got anybody you know that grows it and stuff, like ask them the questions, man.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of people, if they're not on the ball, they'll just be chucking whatever it is in there to try and get as much as they can out of it, little realizing that like it's really not doing the plant any good.
IBMC says when they crossed Stardog with Warlock and made Star Wars, that's when I gave up. That's hilarious. Yeah, the amount of strains, like D's not here, man. Shout out to Dan as well, man. Dan DNA had to bounce a little while ago, man. Yeah, big him up, man. You know what I mean? Here plotting, just doing the bits and bobs. I'm like, yeah, he's putting in the work when he's here, boy. So yeah, rest up. You know what I mean? Get well soon. And but yeah, the amount of different strains and like his face. When people are, hey, we got to do the roll call, by the way. What's the roll call out there? We didn't even get to do that earlier on, you know what I mean? I'm on some Moroccan hash and some Skittles cake gelato.
Nice.
Yeah, it's doing me right.
That's what you're on,
doing
is
me
it?
righteous, yeah.
That what you've got at the moment?
At the moment, yeah. But I was on, there's a few
nice
bits and bobs like during the tour and that, during the gigs.
Oh yeah, man, that look, you performed in front of some amazing crowds.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. This one was nuts, man. We got to do what did we do this weekend? Oh, we did like Northampton. We did like their you know, local rugby teams stadium, and then we did Newcastle Racecourse.
I didn't realise that. I'm sure that was that massive crowd that the last one I saw you post up, was that in the UK, was it?
Yeah, there was the last weekend has been in the UK, yeah.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, it's been nuts, cool, man. And then we did the Peace Hall, which is in Halifax, and it's crazy, man. Next week I'll flash up the videos and that, but it was a crazy little I say big venue. You know what I mean?
So
And just
cool.
the way that it's set up was sick. Yeah, it was amazing, man.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that, man. Feeling blessed to do that. Right,
Yeah.
so, okay, what we got here? Hey, shout out to Lawrence Limburger, man. I see some Regantology in the building. King Chico, you know what I mean? You lot popped in. It's good to see you. So what, runts? I'm hearing some people talk about runts cake.
Yeah, nice.
Afghan times Northern Lights rosin. Rosin. Dan's got me saying rosin now,
rosin.
man. Jesus. Yeah. Shout out to Don Smith, man. He looked after me as well. I was on some, what was it? Purple Star Dog. And this top hat. It's like Cali top hat is quite nice as well.
Nice.
You're more saying Diamond OG. We got Lawrence Limburger in the building.
Who said they got some rosin?
Don Smithard.
Don Smithard, so man, if you get a chance, if you got a little silicon pot, just take off a little bit of your rosin. Don't need to take all of it. Just take a little bit and stick it in a little silicon pot. Stick it in your oven. Even if you've got no like actual temperature control, proper temperature. If you have, then put it at like 110. If you haven't, just put it on like number 1 or whatever lowest setting, and just let that bubble up in the oven. And once it goes back down into a liquid, try eating some, mate, and just see if you enjoy dabbing and smoking the rosin, man. See how you enjoy just eating a little bit of that out of the oven, mate. You'll be buzzing for hours. So get one to try, man. Definitely.
Hear that? Oh,
if you've got the ability to do that.
Don, he's a Don, man. I think he does, you know. I think he does. Shout out to, so what else do we hear? Oh, King Chico saying wedding cake, tasting like some shark breath that he had before. See the names, man. Never heard of shark breath.
Repackaged, renamed. That goes on a lot.
Repackaged shark breath.
Goes on a lot.
Regantology saying snap Lawrence. He's on the runts as well.
Nice.
So, okay, runts cake. Well, you like ain't messing around.
Runts is my favourite strain still, really.
Runts is banging.
Good, a proper runts is bit of me that.
Your more said Diamond OG has been great for pain relief and sleeping.
Yeah, nice. Strong OGs normally are.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's good after a workout, sort out the muscles as well, man. Yeah. Nice, relaxing.
Jet Latte at the moment, which is Jet Fuel OG cross 40 gelato.
Yeah. I've tried some of that. That's bang. Yeah. Nice. Jet Fuel OG. Okay. So IBMC says, what happened to Lemon Haze? And what's going on with these? We probably need to get moderators in soon, man, to start sorting out these. We've got some friggin' spam bots.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but what did happen to Lemon Haze, man? Was it Haze? I got Amy.
Still about. I can get a cheap bit of Lemon Haze. It's still about, mate. So I still like cheap it.
Lemon Haze, boy.
It's still about, actually, that it's a mad one is that the lemon haze, the main terpene in that lemon is limonene. It's like the lemon smell. And like that is for epilepsy, unbelievable, mate. It stops seizures in its tracks. That stuff. Real? Yeah, that terpene in itself is just
wow. Damn, that's interesting, man.
Thing. So anti-seizure properties in limonene are amazing. The reason why, like, this is what the authorities need to know. They're just giving epileptic, like, kids whatever they're just got, whatever their licensed oil is. Little do they realise it's not really even about the CBD and THC. It is to a certain degree because they need to be in there, but the limonene is what really stops the seizures in their tracks. Had a young girl, she's been taking oil for a couple of years now, man, and it's just she was having like up to 4 severe epileptic seizures a day. That was from a vaccine. I think I told you about that before, from the HPV vaccine. And since she's been taking oil with limonene in, and that was it's mad. She's just stopped every time she's taking the oil, she doesn't have seizures. It's mad.
Wow, see it there. That's deep, man. That is very deep, bro.
But so lemon haze still got its uses, definitely.
Yeah, see it there. Who was it? I think it was your more saying that was lemon haze is one of her favorite all-time strains.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. IBMC is saying cheese dominated.
For me, is that those old strains, they're like, once you get the new strains that, like I said to you, they've got so much more going on with different terpenes. Once your palate sort of gets used to those new ones, Then you go back to those old, you go, oh, a bit of lemonade. Used to love that, and I smoke a bit now, and I'm like, no, it ain't quite cutting it for me anymore. It's like I remember it.
Lemonades ain't
My
cutting it,
palate's
man.
moved on.
Or the cheese, yeah, like
Nah, even
say
cheese now.
you're
I
like,
can't smoke cheese.
cheese,
It's
man.
horrible, man. It's like, I used to love
dry,
that.
Dry, like cheese. The thing about them is like, the thing is, if you get, like, you can get a really good lemon haze, but it's when it's like not metallic tasting, you know what I mean? It tastes more like, okay, there's some depth to it. But otherwise, it's like, yo, that shit's just dry. Like, you smoke a lemon haze, you're like, yo, bro, I'm out.
To be honest, anyway,
like, or cheese.
Yeah, for me personally, I was never a massive fan of anything haze. I know that's like probably an unpopular opinion because I know loads of people love the haze, but for me, the haze was always one that smelled amazing. So if I smell a bit of haze in the bag, it just smells absolutely beautiful and this sweet, beautiful smell. But it never, the taste of it in the joint to me doesn't actually taste what it smells like in the bag. There's that other thing to it. So I was never a massive fan of haze. Really. I did love a bit of blue cheese or Exodus cheese going back years ago, but these days, like my pals, a couple of my pals still love that old stuff, and like I smoke a bit of it now, and it's got that proper sweet, real nice sort of cheese smell to it. And then I smoke it, and it's just, I'm obviously a bit of a snob these days. Just turn my nose up it now, and I'm like, man, I used to absolutely love this stuff. So
when it's done right, man.
Yeah,
like, that's the bottom line. It's like there are times when it can work, but yeah,
I feel like people talking about runts. Like a proper sherbet. I've got some Biscoff at the moment, biscottis. Like, mate, I had some. What did I? I've just come back from Barca, didn't I? Like, a month ago, and some of the bits I had out there were absolutely amazing. Some Black Bassio was amazing. Some Sherb Biker, which was Sunset Sherbet Cross Biker OG, was like. Mate, it was just so for me, like those ones have just got so much to it these days. It's like the first toke you have on it just blows your mind. Like, so it's hard for me to get that with the old ones. Yeah,
the palate's been spoiled now, my friend.
It has now. It is. You sort of can't go back once you start tasting those new flavors.
Yeah. See, Regantology said Biscotti is very nice. He's not lying, boy. Biscotti is.
Yeah, man. That's for me. Runts, Biscotti, sherbets, Sunset Sherbs, proper gelato 41, like any of them types of buds that just got that one that just, I'm a sucker for them. Absolute sucker for it.
Yeah,
love the flavors. That's the thing for me, smoking is all about flavor. If you're taking oil for like getting really high, then you're only sitting there and smoking a joint because I enjoy the flavor of it. So it's got I'd always much rather it just have those real nice terps and have a banging bit of flavour.
The terps are important, man. Very important. I think we definitely learned that today. Yeah, I think even, your mom was saying that the lemon haze helped her with her migraines. So, in that sense, you can see.
Yeah, medicinal.
Migraine prevention, see it there, prevention.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, medicinal, man. But those haze strains definitely.
Like you say, that might be a particular.
Said they fell off. IPFC said those haze strains, they fell off, man.
I agree.
That's probably the best way to put it. It's like haze. Yeah, it just fell off. It's like. Yeah, summer haze. Like,
remember like that Amsterdam, man. I was in Grey Area, the Silver Bubble in Grey Area, the dam going back like years.
Wow, Silver Bubble.
You'd have queues going down the street for that stuff. Like that's all anybody would be going to Amsterdam for would be those crazy Amnesias, Silver Bubble. But yeah, they're not really. Oh, I agree. They're not really cutting it no more. Man.
That's nuts, man. Yo, Sam, man, let's do this, man, because it's that time, innit? It's the end of the day. People got work tomorrow. It's a school night. We appreciate all you mother lovers locked in as well, man. Sam, so make sure you lot hit him up. Cannasseursuk.com. Bro, thanks for coming through, man.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Dropping some more gems.
Always good, mate.
Awesome. That story you got there, man, that is something there, man. Like, and the fact that it's come to fruition, I think it kind of shows like when things are meant to happen, they're meant to happen. Do you know what I mean?
It's nuts, mate. There's more to it, mate. One day when me and you are just sitting having a smoke, mate, I'll tell you more. But
yes, man.
Bore people too much.
Salute, bruv.
Big up, mate.
Big up, man. Yes,
Take
man.
care. Cheers, mate.
Thanks for coming through, man. Yo, fire emojis, mother lovers. Let's see them, man. Because, boy, that was some real ass shit right there. Do you know what I mean? Brother Sam Gibbons come through. Let us know a few things we might not never know nothing about. And that's the important thing when we get here, man, each and every Wednesday. Thank you to everyone that was locked in, man. Shout out to Yamor Don Smitherd, my bro. Shout out to Regantology, my other bro. IBMCs, Lawrence Limburger. All the crew locked in, man. King Chico, one love, G. Yes, man. Appreciate you lot coming through all the time, man. I know there's been some drama out there in the UK hip-hop world. Do you know what I mean? We've been hearing about certain people kind of doing dirty on their crew. You know what I mean? We might have to talk about that next week. Hopefully we got a guest coming in that should be breaking down. You know, we touched on it a little bit, but the whole psilocybin thing. I'm not sure if it's going to be next week 100%, but yeah, you know what I mean? Keep you mother lovers posted, man. Yeah, and thank you to everyone locked in. Make sure you hit up cmosboss.co.uk to get all your sea vegetables. You know what I mean? Whatever you need. Trust me, man. People that want to get on the fasting thing, I think it helps. People that want to try more, you know, if you're vegan or whatever, yeah. You know what I mean? You'll get, apparently a lot of vegans, they struggle with the gelatin and all that because you can't get it from animal food, but there's loads of different foods out there that are not animal foods that you can get, you know, stuff that does help your skin stay supple and soft, you know what I mean? Not ashy, like me back in the day. That's another story we keep getting into, and you know, one day I hope we can stop talking about that because it reminds me too much of that era when I was scream for cream. But ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. We gotta be out, you know what I mean? I'm on my Jack Jones, but you know what this is about. Some shit you might not never know nothing about. I'm MysDiggi. Dan DNA's not here, but still bitches and bitchettes. We're out.